Welcome back to another edition of Ball Don't Lie, right here on 104.9 The Horn. We got a lot to get into. We like to call it a Top of the Charts Tuesday. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But before we do, we got a lot to get into, of course. We'll talk the national title and also the national champion, the UConn Huskies. We'll get into that here momentarily. Also, we'll get into the ratings of the women's game last night. And also, we knew it would get political. I predicted it would get political. I just didn't see this as the political slant on the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese story. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. Also, Luka Doncic has said he will play the remainder of the season. We'll get into some NBA headlines. Also, Sark had a media availability after the latest spring football practice. We'll get into that. Talk about some Texas spring football news, notes, and nuggets. Todd McShay's latest mock draft. Pro Football Focus also believes the Cowboys are going to draft Bijan Robinson. Seems like everybody's on that bandwagon. Also, there are a couple of rumors going around the NFL having to do with the Cowboys that could be game changers. We'll get into all of that and more. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He was a second-round pick for the Montreal Expos, but a first-round pick for the Austin Radio Network. He originally committed to the University of Texas, but decided to forego the 40 acres and chase his dream and the cheese. Pimping ain't easy, but for this man, it's a breeze. He is the Mike Hardball Hard. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, brother?
What it do? We are right here in the middle of it. We also have Texas baseball. You can make sure that you check that out on 101.9 and AM 1260 as they will start at 4 o'clock. But you get us, like my man always says, it's the full Monty over here today. Let's enjoy it. Let me talk about my man that sits across from me. He hails from H-Town with the Get Down. He's a lifetime Longhorn and a proud card-carrying member of DBU. Legendary lifetime and college football Hall of Fame Longhorn Derek Johnson said he was the best cover corner he had ever seen. He's a former NFL DB that still has that passion for film study, but he's not a fan of white condiments. But of course, he is a fan of you, the listeners. He is my man and yours, Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro as always. Let's not waste any time introducing the real MVP. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We don't know what he's paid. We do know that he's underpaid. It's Patrick Davis. How you doing, Patrick?
Doing good.
Also, Lou's in the house. Lou's feeling good, too. Cone off of his neck and everything. Just feeling spry like himself, the unofficial mascot of Ball Don't Lie. So shout out to my man Lou as well. All right. Let's get into the national title game, and then we'll get into another developing story about the women's championship game, or at least I should say is related to the women's championship game, and the trash talk controversy that really captivated the country. But those ratings you brought up yesterday, Harge, now we have a kind of a better outlook, essentially, and comparisons, perspective on the women's national title ratings. And we'll get into that, too, when we talk about the First Lady has gotten involved in the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese conversation. So we'll talk about that. It was a national discourse yesterday, and it continues to be a hot topic. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. But a lot of Texas spring football conversation. Top of the 4, top of the 6 o'clock. We'll get into Sark's, the audio we have from Sark. My man Patrick, always working hard for us, got us the Sark audio from his media availability. So we'll talk some Texas spring football there. Top of the 5 o'clock, of course. We'll get into the latest NFL news, notes, and nuggets. A lot of buzz about the Cowboys. How about the rumor, and I don't know if it's a rumor, it's more of a report from Bill Barnwell. He's making predictions. Everybody's making predictions around this time of year based on very limited and most oftentimes corrupted information that they're receiving from different people. But he's making predictions about the free agent market, and there are certain players who may end up getting cut or released by teams just because they are, the salary is for a lot of teams, it's a bit of an albatross. So teams may trying to get rid of some of these big time salaries. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the names top of that list. Also, and we've talked about this for a while too as a trade option, but Derrick Henry is also a name.
He was one of the first names. I was sitting there looking at it. I'm like, wait a minute. They talking about trading him or probably cutting him. And I'm like, huh?
Bill Barnwell saying that they can't, well, at least he's predicting they won't be able to find trade partners for Derrick Henry.
Because why? The running back position. You know what I'm saying? We get that.
It's a perfect storm of circumstances, right? You got one of the deepest running back drafts we've had in a really long time. You also have a deep running back free agent market, which we had, which still, obviously, there's still some running backs out there on the market, and there are running backs available for trade. Derrick Henry being one of them. Dalvin Cook being another guy that's available for trade. Eckler.
Austin Eckler.
He wants to be paid too.
They need to start a union for the running backs.
Like quarterbacks, like the QB club.
They need to start a running back club because now those guys are become the most disrespected position on the field. I mean, you start thinking about it because everybody's like, oh, we can get another running back. Oh, we're not going to pay this guy this much money. We're going to get rid of this guy. We're going to do all this other stuff, which is understandable fiscally. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But, man, these dudes have now become endangered species.
No, you're right. The disrespect.
Oh, my goodness.
The disrespect right now is unbelievable.
I can get somebody else to do what you do.
Like people are saying that Bijan Robinson might be one of the top 10 best players in the draft.
But they won't draft him.
But
you know what I'm saying? But we're not going to draft him. He's a running back.
It is. It's blatant discrimination.
For sure.
It is blatant discrimination against the running back.
1,000%.
It's almost like what I say about, they always say the stats about people who are unattractive are they're glaring. Like that unattractive people compared to attractive people, or people who are just average looking people, which is most people,
right?
Average looking people, but people who are unattractive, they have a hard time finding jobs. They have a harder time getting in relationships. They're paid less.
Yeah,
but,
like what?
Yeah, exactly. But nobody wants to form the unattractive people union.
Right.
All right. Or the advocacy group.
They don't want to say that I'm part of it.
Nobody wants to admit, you know what, I am discriminated against because I'm ugly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
And nobody wants to admit that. So
Chad always talks about his pretty people rule.
It is. It's true.
It's the pretty people rule.
All the studies say that attractive people have a lot of advantages and privilege, and that unattractive people is the opposite. They have, they have to deal with a lot of disadvantages because of how unattractive they are. But nobody wants to get into that. And they are a minority group because, by the way, I believe most people are just average looking. You're not ugly. You're not gorgeous. Beautiful, by the way.
Right.
But you're just average.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
You fit in all groups.
Exactly. But myself and a couple of other, we are in the attractive people group. I consider myself to be in that group. Yeah. And I'm sure most of y'all listening like, I'm definitely in that group. You're probably not. And just like me, I'm probably not either. I just consider myself.
But I consider myself in it.
And you
That's
should.
right.
You should. You should be able to say, no,
when you wake up in the morning, you say, this is all me, baby.
You should be thinking you good looking.
Yeah.
That don't mean you are good looking. You should think you good looking, all right? I believe that wholeheartedly. Just like I think I'm good looking, even though I may not be that good looking. You should believe it. Now, nobody wants to admit, though, that they may be ugly and therefore at a disadvantage and being discriminated against. So that's why they can't have their own advocacy group.
Right. I get it.
They do. They need it.
Yeah.
But just like the running backs, your point, they need it.
They need a group. Because
they don't want to admit that value has dropped this much, and they are actually being discriminated against. They don't want to admit that.
100%.
But it's true.
Yes.
Austin Eckler talked about it.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, man. Like, what we were the most, because they do multiple things. They're not just a running back. They are just positioned like that.
Nobody
just
cares.
Remember when Jimmy Graham was trying to walk out there and say, I'm a wide receiver, I want to get wide receiver money, and they're like, no, you're a tight end.
You're a tight end. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the position you chose.
That's
you
running
might be playing another position,
Yeah.
but you are listed as our tight end. Same thing with the running back position. Running backs block, they run, they receive, they do all kinds of things. But right now, you are disrespected.
You're running back.
You're a running back.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate.
No,
because now, like you've always said, nobody wants to play defensive back anymore. They want to play wide receiver. Well,
Trevon Diggs
cried.
he didn't want to play it either.
Right.
Nick Saban had to force it on. Now he's an All-Pro.
There it is.
But no, we'll get into the conversation though. But it affects Bijan because Bijan's in that conversation. Everybody loves him, but there's a thought that he could drop to the Cowboys. We'll get into some of those Pro Football Focus draft simulator projections coming up.
And this is another great point right here, Mr. Carolina. I can tell you Emmitt Smith's record will never be touched again in this era of football. And that's true. Emmitt Smith will go down in the history of the game as the all-time leading rusher because everybody's gone.
Well, because running backs don't play the game that long anymore. Frank Gore, he's one of those. Adrian Peterson, those guys the exception, not the rule. You don't play that long anymore, and then when you do play, there's more running back by committee, not workhorse backfields.
Yes.
It has more to do with now our progressive mindset about the passing game, more so than we just, this running back just won't receive the carries. Those running backs, actually, if you look at touches, they're still getting the same amount of touches. They're just split up a lot of times where a quarter of those are receptions now.
Right.
Emmett, I haven't looked at Emmett's receiving numbers, but I guarantee they're not that prolific.
Right.
He was a workhorse back, which is a different era of football. So he's right. They'll never touch it.
Yep, that's amazing to me.
But
when
strange
you think
enough, Mr. Carolina, they'll never touch Jerry Rice's records either. Think about Jerry Rice's records. They still ain't, nobody's coming close to him.
That's right.
Not even close.
That's true.
Not even close. Go look at Jerry Rice's records. They're like Wilt Chamberlain records. Like nobody's even close to these damn things.
Yeah.
Like what? Like seriously.
There's not even a number that you can put it on.
No, we just go to, give me a second to Jerry Rice. They just put an asterisk by it. Jerry Rice records are crazy. His numbers, because it was the beginning of the West Coast offense, so it was a schematic advance the NFL hadn't figured out yet, so it was the birth of the West Coast offense, and then he was the focal point of that offense. Bill Walsh chose him, the greatest offensive mind arguably in football, chose Jerry Rice as the perfect instrument of the West Coast offense. He and Joe Montana, and then Jerry Rice also had longevity. Think about it. I played with Jerry Rice.
That right there is the thing.
I played with Jerry Rice.
That to me, when you say that, it's like
he was my teammate.
People are like, huh?
He's my teammate in Denver. I'm talking about Jerry Rice, receding hairline. We're talking about
with the braids.
Yes. Dude, braids starting at like the middle of the top of the head.
Braids.
Like it was like if George Jefferson had braids.
Oh,
and he's still out there still doing people dirty on the 6 route. I got to go against him a lot because he was like the second or third wide receiver then. So I got a chance to go against Jerry Rice, and every time I got a chance, I'd love it. And the other guys didn't want to go against Jerry Rice. I was like, what? I'm going against Jerry because because Jerry was doing people dirty, and he was like 45 years old. All right, so they were like, no, I ain't letting old Jerry do me dirty out there. No way, because he was still doing people dirty.
Right.
And I was like, nah, man, I ain't gonna be in the league long. I know this is the end of my career. I'm trying. No, I ain't no challenge. I was like, basically, I'm at the end of my career anyway. I'm trying to get some Jerry Rice stories in here. So let's go, Jerry. I knew I was done by then. I was the Denver Broncos were like my 3rd or 4th team.
Yeah.
Things are not going the way I thought.
Gotcha.
I thought I was gonna get my chance, but I was like, you know what? Either way, I'm going against Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
I'm fighting to go against Jerry. They wanted to go against. I think it was like Rod Smith was there. I think it was an old guy.
Rod Smith was another old one, but he was still cooking people too.
Man, it was exactly.
He was still cooking people too.
Man, I was trying to get out there and go against Jerry.
I'm gonna show something out here today.
Yeah. So
I love it.
I stalked Jerry a little bit.
I like it.
I stalked him. Even going. I ain't gonna lie. Even going into the steam room, I stalked Jerry. It was inappropriate, but I did. Every time I was sitting there,
any moment you could get with him.
Anytime I could get in there with Jerry, I was like, you know what? Jerry's going to the steam room. I'll go up in there.
I'm
with
gonna
him.
say what's up.
See if I can give me a couple of moments with Jerry, and he was cool.
Yeah.
I got my Jerry Rice moments.
I like it.
That's all I was about. Give me a couple of moments.
Give me my moments.
Man, just give me a couple of moments with Jerry Rice to kick it a little bit so I can have some great stories.
You got them.
About me. Exactly.
You
and I got
them. You got them.
Now, they're inappropriate. I was stalking him.
But it was okay.
I was naked with Jerry Rice in the steam room.
Hey, man.
That's
sometimes.
basically, I'm not, it wasn't nothing inappropriate or anything, but that's what I had to do.
Y'all brought towels with you. So that's good. There you go.
True.
Just say that.
We were toweled up.
Yeah, we were toweled up.
He would untowel when he got in there. He wanted to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I just said, give you a little secret about Jerry Rice.
He was 45 years old. He didn't care no more.
Give you a little secret about Jerry. When Jerry got up there, he liked to de-towel and just be all out. I learned that too. Like, oh, okay.
What did he
already.
do? He de-toweled.
He de-toweled, because he's the GOAT. He's like, I'm the GOAT.
Oh,
I bet Tom Brady de-towels as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, when you go there, you go there.
Why not?
You know what I'm saying?
All right. Anyway, sorry. Can we get to the national title game?
I mean, we can.
You started this.
I did not.
You went somewhere. And
I went somewhere.
You went off the path, and then you got us going here.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right, UConn beat San Diego State, and we all knew this was going to happen.
Yep.
And it almost went exactly the way we said it was going to go.
It did.
We were talking in the break. We were like, it's going to end up being a blowout in the first half. And I believe Patrick
creeping back in.
And then Patrick was like, the refs are going to let them back in it.
Yep.
I don't know if there are any calls that people complained about. I think people lost interest by the time the blowout happened.
It's not like the refs are blatantly doing anything. So like the Xavier game is a perfect example of kind of what happened last night for Texas. That they basically let the big guy for Xavier get whatever he wanted in the second half, and he just couldn't do much.
Yeah.
But they let him get what he wanted. He got a ton of free throws. He gets all, And they're like, if he decides to go off, Texas may lose that game. Same thing happened last night where they're like, hey, we're going to kind of give them a couple things. They can take advantage of it. They can win this game. They kind of did. UConn was just too good.
They kind of did.
UConn hits. And again, if they're not going to call fouls on people and you can hit threes still, you can beat anybody even with the referee. And UConn did it this entire tournament.
And the size advantage for UConn.
And yeah.
It was huge.
And it's just that thing. When you look at it and when you say you have to play through the refs, UConn did it this entire tournament.
Yep.
So hats off to them because there were in every game a point where things were skewed where it wasn't terrible, but it's enough that it could have changed things, and they didn't let it once. So that's what champions do.
And they would.
San Diego State shot 20 free throws, and they shot UConn shot 27. So
it wasn't a huge
it
disparity.
wasn't a huge disparity. But the over-under was 132.5.
Was it really?
132.5.
How do you know that, Harsh?
Because I took the over. I took the over, and the final score was 135.
Oh, man.
Vegas
How do they know?
They know.
How do they know?
They know the referees was going to make sure that they got free throws.
We
there.
knew that, too. Because we were wondering why the line, was it a 7 or 8?
It was a 7.5 point line.
Considering UConn had beaten their opponents by an average of 20-something points per
and
game?
they beat them by 17 last night.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that was easy money right
Yeah.
there.
Every single game was double digits.
Yeah, so why would
insane.
they even put it within single digits?
Because they thought that San Diego
I guess
State
that
would
would-
slow it down and
Even
not let
sa-
them run.
That's true.
You know what I'm
and then
saying?
they thought the refs would
And then
keep
they
it
thought,
close.
yeah.
I guess they got it close at one point, but for the most part, UConn dominated the game. Okay, can we have the conversation about UConn? Because they've had one of the weirdest, couple of decades in the history of college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So their 25-year run, just going back 25 years, they got 5 national titles in this 25-year run, which is crazy. All right, since 1999. But 5 conference titles, which you thought they'd had more than that. They've missed a tournament 8 times. 7 times not out of the first weekend. And then you got 3 title games against a 5 seed or worse.
Right.
It's just a weird. So are they? So there are blue bloods and there are new bloods. Is UConn a new blood? And
I think that
instead of
they've
blue
been-
bloods. They don't have blue bloods.
Well, they got
status.
5. They tried, Bucky and Aaron tried to put them in there and knocked Indiana out of it this morning.
No.
They were saying, they were like,
yeah.
no, UConn is
you
a blue
can't
blood.
lose your blue blood status. You're a blue blood. You're a blue blood. You don't lose your blue blood
Yeah. I
status.
I don't know. Indiana's getting close to it, though.
I know you can listen in football. There are a lot. Some people say that about Texas.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I'm
That's
like,
true.
no, you cannot lose.
You
I have to stay.
You gotta, you have to
I don't want to be a
put your
hypocrite
foot
here.
down on it.
You're
Yeah.
putting our foot down. You cannot lose your blue blood status
Yeah.
because Texas football it might be on the verge of that. So yeah, can't lose that. Is my opinion. I think you have blue bloods and new bloods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those who establish themselves in
I like
a later
that.
part, right? The last 20, 30 years or so.
Yeah. Because
they're
theirs
a
is
new
the last
blood.
24 years, right?
Yeah.
They won their
yeah.
first title in
99.
99, and they've won 5 since.
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, Katie says Nebraska.
Right.
Doesn't losing your blue blood status. That
They
just
might
to-
have.
to revoke blue blood status is a wild. Hey, I don't think you should be able to do it, guys. Okay.
Yep.
Don't let it happen, because then it can happen to you.
it
As
can be part
as
of
Ronald
you.
Reagan once said, "Listen, he always said it's a recession when it happens to your neighbor. It's a depression when it happens to you. Don't let it happen to you. Don't
When
let it
you
happen
tell
to
a
you.
joke at a party and everybody stops laughing. Like, oh, no, I'm the joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That could be Texas. So no, blue blood status, you can keep that. But I think they've earned. If you want to throw them into the blue bloods, you can do that, or you can go with mine that this kind of a new blood thing. But man, they're in there. Man, they've been too influential in college basketball the last almost 3 decades.
Yeah, they've won in every the last 4 decades. But here's the other part of this. I believe all of their national championships that they won were in the state of Texas.
Hold up, say that again.
I believe every championship that they have won has been in the state of Texas. All of UConn's championships,
No,
yes.
that can't
I
be.
think that's true too.
Is
It's
it
at least
really?
3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, have been in the state of
That is
Texas.
fantastic.
And I believe they won 2 of them in Houston.
H-Town, baby.
Yeah, they
Damn.
love the state of Texas. So whenever it's their national championship is in the state of Texas, you might want to put some money on UConn.
Wow, that is a great
So is
stat.
it just
I
because they're
love that.
warmed up, finally getting out of Connecticut?
Maybe
Like, oh, it's
they-
so nice down here.
They got loose.
Do
they were
you
already
ever
loose.
have any, because Texas has a lot of great basketball players. Any other basketball players ever go to UConn from Texas? The state?
Only Okafor. and he was from Beaumont.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
a great
That
little
I know
nugget.
of, yeah.
That's a great nugget.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they are there every few years or so. You can count on a UConn run.
And if it's in
You don't-
Texas, they going to be in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next time it
So
happens.
make sure
Look,
I'm throwing money on it next time. Trust me.
Oh, that is fantastic. Great
Yeah.
job. I love that. So UConn, how about this little stat from ESPN Stats Info talking about how dominant they've been during this run. UConn played 240 minutes in 6 tournament games and trailed for just 31 minutes
Yeah.
of time. 13%, including only 55 seconds in the second half of games. They were easily the best team in the tournament.
By far.
Right?
By far. Because of what you said about the scoring differential, how they broke everything down, they've done it all. And you start looking at who they are and what they were able to do, man, this is very, very impressive.
17-0. How about this? Finished the season 17-0 straight up and 16-1 against the spread versus teams outside of the Big East. So teams that didn't know if you
didn't scout them properly,
you didn't scout them,
yeah.
you didn't have some familiarity with them.
Yep.
Oh man, they shell shocked you.
Yeah.
17-0, and they covered it every time.
Impressive.
Good teams win, great teams cover.
And that's what they do.
They were a great team.
They were definitely a
And
great team.
they went unranked in the preseason.
Yeah, they were like 66 to 1 to win the national championship at the very beginning of the year.
Yeah. That really was a great run by them, and that is fantastic. I love the Texas stat though.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. I can't believe that. Like, what are the odds of that?
Exactly.
What are the odds of that?
And then
Like,
here's
how
the
often,
thing.
Okay, we gotta look at how often they have the championship games in Texas.
It's a
Do
good
they have
amount.
it in there every I don't know.
Well, so
every
not
10
next year, the year following 2024 or 2020. So not next season, but the season
So
after.
they
It'll be in
will be
San
in
Antonio.
It's in San Antonio.
San
this
Antonio.
time.
It's not till
Okay.
Dallas again until I think 2030.
Okay.
It'll be in Dallas again.
So maybe it's the frequency of it being in Texas more so than it's still a
Yeah.
crazy stat. That,
Yeah.
I mean the odds
It
of it are
still
just
spreads it out.
Yeah.
So
Right. That's I got to look at
Yeah,
that.
you're
That
going to
is-
put that in the Rolodex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about the first lady?
Sure. Sure.
You see,
I know where you because I know where you're going with that.
You see her. You like sure.
Yeah.
That's like when your wife asks you, "Do you want to? Can we have a talk?" And you're like,
Sure.
it's very reluctant. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. I mean, of course we can do
Sure,
this,
I
but
mean-
it's not going to be good news. I can
mean, the way you brought that to me. Yeah.
tell. First Lady Jill Biden. She said on Monday, and by the way, there's been clarity on this, but she said after the national title win by LSU over Iowa, 102-85, and when everybody, obviously is talking about the champions in the NCAA, they get to visit the White House, which is in all the major sports, actually, not just NCAA, visit the White House, and it's an American tradition. Everybody talks about it. Everybody looks forward to it.
Yep.
She said, quote, yesterday, "I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So we hope LSU will come. But, I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game."
Everybody don't get a trophy, Jill.
Her press secretary did clarify, that although she admires how far women have advanced in sports because of Title IX, she looks forward to celebrating the LSU Tigers on their championship win at the White House. President Biden also tweeted out that he's looking forward to welcoming LSU. He didn't say anything about Iowa. Didn't bring up Iowa at all. And Angel Reese, in response to the First Lady's comments, before the clarification, I believe, she did remark on Twitter as she quote tweeted the story in all caps, a joke. And then she had some rolling on the floor laughing emojis. I believe that's what they are called.
Yeah.
All right. I knew it would get political. I thought it would be it'd be Trump that would do it. So
You did say that.
I said it'd be
You
Trump.
did say that.
You know what? Trump might actually now respond. I know he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Well, he's done. He's on his way back to Mar-a-Lago, so he might have time to do it on the plane.
He might have a response to it.
He might have.
Caitlin Clark. So he might have a response to it, but I didn't see the Jill Biden political slant to it.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, they've kind of walked it back. They've backpedaled a little bit. What are your thoughts about her initially inviting Iowa to the White House as well as LSU, the champion.
This is not everybody gets a trophy. You can't do that. I mean, that's not what this breaks down to, because if you start looking at who gets to go and who doesn't, there's so many other ways of going about it, because then you look at so now they're going to have San Diego State come with UConn? Like the people that are the people. Yeah, you got to, right?
That's the new rule. If that's the new rule,
if that's what you're going to do,
everybody who plays in the championship gets to go. Then that's the new rule.
Exactly.
Because, I'm with you on that.
So if you're going to do that, you're going to have to do it for everybody, right? This isn't everybody gets a trophy type of league. I mean, these people work hard to get to this.
We are that kind of country, though.
But this is how you get it back from that, right? This is where you stop.
We are that kind of country. You admit that we are that. You got kids.
What?
We are that kind of country.
And we don't take kindly to those type of.
Your household is different.
Yeah, we are totally different when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you sit there and you're like, all right, so we're gonna go and do this. Everybody's gonna get a trophy in this presentation.
I believe KD had a podcast about it.
And thank you. He did. He did. I think KD does. And that's the title of it. Yeah. Everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, he's
that's not how this works down, man.
And mocking it as well. No, I agree with you. It's a bad precedent to set. And I know what the First Lady was trying to do. She was trying to celebrate the moment and how.
Because she got caught up, too.
And we all got caught up. And we talked about how captivated the country was with it. And by the way, going back to the ratings thing, this is phenomenal. I love these numbers. So apparently 9.9 million viewers was more than every NHL Stanley Cup game since 1973. It was more than the games 1, 2, and 3, and 5 of the 2021 NBA Finals. More than the 2023 Sugar Bowl between Bama and K-State. More than the 2023 Orange Bowl. More viewers than the 2023 Orange Bowl between Tennessee and Clemson. And obviously, it says every MLS game on record.
Every MLS.
They got more ratings, they got more viewers, I should say, than any MLS game on record. And how about this? The Sunday's audience for the women's national title game exceeded every game of last year's NBA playoffs except for the NBA Finals, every game of last year's Major League Baseball postseason except for the World Series, every NASCAR race since 2017, including the Daytona 500, and every NHL game in more than 50 years. And that includes the Stanley Cup, gentlemen.
Wow.
Wow. Everybody was about it. It really was. It captivated the country. That's crazy. That's some wild numbers right there, man. So I understand why the First Lady had something to say about it. I think she just got caught up in how
she did
in all the drama.
The emotion of everything that was going down.
The trash talk was a big part of it.
Yep.
It was a big part. Basically, you had the best two players potentially in the country with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But they are also arguably the two best trash talkers in all of the sport. And then you also have dynamic personalities with the coaches and the players and all these storylines. Guys, it's about storylines. You got to have a storyline that transcends the sports page, the front page. The NFL is king because they have a ton of them.
Yeah.
And the NBA has figured out, too, like, no. Half the NBA season ain't even about what's on the court.
It's definitely
about what's
not
happening off the court, what's going on. That's part of it. The reason people don't talk baseball, give me the baseball storylines. Give them to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Crickets. Yeah. We're not talking. Nobody wants to sit around and listen. I talk
Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout.
Storyline. Shohei Ohtani's got a great storyline.
Exactly.
We love to go back and oh man, how did he become such a great two-way player?
Yep.
Since Babe Ruth, you haven't had a player like that in Major League Baseball. Storylines.
The Astros cheating scandal, trash cans.
Storylines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to get the ratings?
Rangers.
Listen, the Masters.
Bruce Bochy.
The Masters this year, and I know it sounds crazy. The live golfers are there.
Oh, that's the storyline.
18 of them are participating in the Masters. Now, they have the Masters dinner, whatever. We'll get to that, actually, because that's pretty cool.
Because it is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So we'll get to that coming up and off the record. So we'll get to some of the menu items and all that kind of stuff. But there's former Masters champions that are a part of the Live Tour now.
Yeah.
And they are at this dinner.
And they're going to be sitting outside.
And they're going to be sitting in with guys who genuinely don't like. They
don't like each other anyway.
Guys have basically been disowned.
Yeah.
The friendships destroyed.
Yes. Well, because lawsuits are involved now.
Yeah, because these guys went to the Live Tour and decided to take the money, and there's political storylines, there's patriotism thrown in there, it's the money, and some people said actually Live is good because it's forcing the PGA to modernize and be progressive, and they have changed,
help them out
by the
a
way.
little bit.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like so, it's like, but you got a natural villain. The key to a storyline is villain. Villains create storylines, and the key to it, because villains create conflict, number one. Because that's what villains do really well. If you got a villain, they're creating conflict. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, conflict. Conflict creates storylines. All right? This is the reality TV recipe. This is the recipe for it all.
Yep.
You find a villain, and whether you're writing a Marvel movie, or whether you're directing a reality TV show, or whether you are the director of a Monday Night Football game, or it's March Madness. Find a villain. The villain creates the conflict creates the storylines.
Yep.
Period.
I like it.
Sometimes it's natural. Sometimes somebody they got natural storylines on their own. But usually, that's the way you create one.
I like it.
And I'm telling you, right now, golf has a great one that is simmering.
And it's all happening Easter weekend.
Ooh. It is. I'm telling you. It is. It's brewing up to be a fantastic. The golf can golf can learn a lesson from the women's national title game. And they can try to recreate that. They really can. And what everybody learned from Vince McMahon and WWE years ago.
Yep.
Sometimes the hero's got to turn into the heel in order to keep the storyline going.
You got to have the storyline going. Yeah.
What did Tiger do? You know what? I got to flip the storyline on him. And then you flip it back. You just keep flipping it. Every time it gets dry, you just turn your hero into a heel and vice versa. Caitlin Clark was the hero for everybody, and then she all of a sudden turned into the heel. And then all of a sudden she's a hero again. What? That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
You got to flip it back and forth, man.
Yeah, I like it.
I was a Hulkamaniac when Hulk Hogan went NWO, Hollywood Hogan. I went with him.
You were like, what are we doing? But
No,
let's go.
I was like, let's go, baby. I'm a villain too. Let's go. I'm following it.
Yep.
That's what you got to do.
I like it.
I love that women's basketball has gone petty. All sports should go
All
petty.
go petty.
Like Zay talks about, go petty. Petty creates storylines. It's way better. Way better. NBA playoffs got some of that too. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But all right, coming up next, we're getting to the Luka situation. There's talk that Luka may not play and that he will play. Luka said that he will play. There were rumors and reports that the Mavericks are going to try to hold him out. We'll talk about that and get some NBA headlines coming up right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Top of the charts Tuesday right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. That's when my man Patrick plays jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. It's my favorite musically themed day of the week. Also, just a little correction. UConn won 4 of their 5 national titles in the state of Texas.
Correct.
Shout out there, and shout out to my man KD, Texas. That's to us too. So it's 4 out of 5. And okay, so you did research and found out how many national title games in the foreseeable future are going to be in the state of Texas?
No, I was talking about the ones that they actually won the games in. So they had it in San Antonio, Dallas, and H-Town twice.
H-Town twice.
Yep.
Okay, so we got to find out.
And the only time they didn't win it was in 1999, and that was in St. Petersburg, Florida. So all of the 2000s of their championships were won in the state of Texas.
How many coaches, Patrick?
3, right?
Yeah.
So it was Calhoun, Kevin Ollie won the 4th one, and then
Danny Hurley.
So we
just
need to
won
go
his last
find
name.
out when the next national title game
Is in Texas.
is in Texas.
2025. 2025, it's at the
2025?
Alamo Dome in San
Okay.
Antonio, and then again in 2030, it's at AT&T Stadium.
All right, the earliest you can make those bets
It's 2025.
So
Futures.
whenever you can make the bets, hey, I'm just saying, just a little change. Just
Little
forget about
change.
it.
That's right.
It's an investment. Just put a
Don't
little
even
something out and
don't
forget
even worry about it. Yeah, just let
put
it
that
gain.
ticket somewhere
That's
else,
right.
and you'll be,
That's right.
and you'll be like, oh, babe, I just forgot. They did it again.
Exactly.
Oh, that is fantastic. I love that. All right, let's get to some NBA news, notes, and nuggets. Gentlemen, the playoffs are right around the corner for the NBA, and unfortunately, there's some bad history that the state of Texas and the NBA teams in Texas are going to have to deal with, and we'll be talking tons of NBA coming up here because I think the NBA playoffs have a lot of storylines. I know Patrick watches more NBA than all of us. He watches a ton of it. But I think the storylines coming up in the playoffs are going to be really good. But one of the storylines right now is about the Mavs. So there was speculation yesterday that the Mavs were going to shut down Luka for the rest of the season.
Correct.
You're talking about I believe they had 3 games left, if I'm not mistaken. And Shams Charania, by the way, was the one that threw that out there. The Mavs were thinking about shutting him down. And by the way, they were only 1 game out of the play-in position when he said that. Now, Luka, I got this via Tim McMahon, he has clarified that he going to play. As long as he said, quote, I'm playing tomorrow. When there's still a chance, I'm going to play. So
Right.
he's a warrior. I appreciate that from Luka. I guess shutting him down would have been them trying to get a lottery
So
position.
the pick
a
they
better-
traded for Kyrie Irving from this year is top 10 protected.
Okay.
So if they have the 11th pick in the draft, they do not have a draft pick in the first round this year. If they get the 10th pick, they keep their pick this year. It'll then rotate to next year. Now, the scary part of that is I think you lose more protections each year it goes on.
I got you.
So you could be also awful next year. Kyrie leaves in free agency. Luka gets hurt or whatever, and you are now the number 1 seed, and you don't have any protections on your pick, and you lose it completely to Brooklyn. That's also a possibility. So there is a scary part, but your hope is, well, we keep Kyrie, or we're able to flip him into something else, and we keep Luka, and then we have another pick who's going to be good for us next year, and we add another piece, and we can try and go at it again next year. But they are top 10 protected.
Okay.
Now, top 10 means you don't make the playoffs, which is there's basically 10 teams in the NBA who are not in the play-in.
Yeah, good point. Okay, yes.
So 15
Gotcha.
teams in each conference,
I gotcha,
top
yes.
10 make it in the play-in.
Playoffs and play-in, very
So
different.
you will be
Yeah.
a top 10 seed or top 10 normally if you're in that play-in area.
It's a good point. So I guess I don't know if Luka decided to, veto their decision, or if the backlash maybe from the report just being out there. Maybe they want to test
Yeah, see
how
what
it
happens.
would play in the court of public opinion. I don't think it played really well, and I think Luka does not want that stigma or reputation,
rep, yeah.
because now there's a lot of talk about Luka, and maybe if it's not Kyrie's fault, because I don't think Kyrie is to blame here. There's been a lot of people who haven't watched any of the Mavs and haven't paid attention. They want to point to Kyrie because, if it's not working, it's got to be Kyrie's fault, because usually if it's not working, it is Kyrie's fault. That is not the case here. As we've talked about, there are a lot of people to blame, but Kyrie is not to blame here.
No.
At all.
No, I will say, if you want to have Kyrie on your team, you need to have a stable force and a real leader, and the Mavs didn't have that.
Luka
And
is supposed to be that. So maybe if you want to point at Luka, he's supposed
No,
to be
Jason
that.
Kidd's supposed to be that.
Yeah,
and
but
I
Luka's
get
supposed to be that
Luka's
too.
supposed to learn how to be it. He's still a young guy.
That's
he is
true.
not that guy yet.
He's
We
not
know
that
he's not
guy
that guy
yet.
yet.
Yeah.
So you need to have a stronger force. They didn't have that. If I'm the Mavs, I don't know why I pull him. You're losing with him. Go ahead and let him play. Have fun.
Yeah.
You're going to lose no matter what because you don't want to play defense. And you just let Jason Kidd keep coaching this team. You'll keep losing.
Yep.
You let Jason Kidd keep coaching the team, you'll keep losing. I hate to agree with you, but I think you might be right about that. And to that point, like, the offense for the Mavs has been like unbelievable, but the reason that Harge didn't like it from the jump, and I'll admit you said you didn't like it. You
From
said
the
it wasn't
very
going to work.
beginning.
And you said, it was going to be a disaster because they don't play defense, and that's not helping your defense. And that's the reason they're losing. Their defense is atrocious.
Yeah, like I think other teams are setting like their season scoring record against them.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they go about the lack of effort on defense. And I thought Patrick hit the nail on the head very early in the conversation as well, because Jason Kidd is a defensive-minded guy. And now you bring in another guy that doesn't play defense on top of the fact that Luka is lazy on defense. I mean, did you hear what happened the other night in Atlanta when the fans start calling him fat?
Yeah, they called him fat at the free throw line. They were
when
like
he was
yelling
at the
fat.
yeah, you are fat. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong?
Hey,
I know,
by the
yeah.
way, Atlanta got no room to talk because they got the other problem in the league of Trae Young.
Yeah, that
There's the same
doesn't
thing. It's
play
like, hey, man,
defense
you got
either.
that cancer on your team, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
I
like said,
agree.
they
100%.
answer like he's not fat.
No, he's not fat.
He may
we
be-
can say bald.
He may be fat. Yeah, he may be challenged follically, but he's not fat. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I just think that
It's
and
just
that's-
wild,
and maybe that's
man.
why Jason Kidd is checked out.
I think so too.
That he's checked out a little
Yeah,
bit. We
And I
talked about
wonder
that
if he
set.
was even consulted about going to get another player.
maybe-
This
and-
might have been a big move by Cuban to say, hey, we need to go get this guy because we want Luka to stick around and let him know that, hey, we are going to go after people to get, to make it look like we want to build on this team. But the one problem, and is going to continue to be the problem, is they don't have people that want to sell out on defense. Everybody in the NBA wants to be a scorer. Like the only person that really gets after it is Patrick Beverly. Like Patrick Beverly is the dude that will play defense, but he's another one of those that you want him on your team, but you don't want to play
But that's
against
what the playoffs is about, right? That's the teams that separate.
Yeah.
The teams that actually play both ends of the floor. It's like everybody in the NBA can score now.
Exactly.
It's like, it used to be that everybody in the NBA kind of played defense back in the day, and then only the elite teams could score a lot of points because they had the best players.
Yep.
Now it seems like it's the opposite. It's like everybody can score a lot of points. Hell, even the Rockets score a
Yep,
lot of points,
yep.
but they can't play any defense. And it seems like that to me now is the separator. To your point, that loss to the Atlanta Hawks by the Mavs this past weekend, Luka and Kyrie combined for 63 points. The sixth time they've been together, they've combined for at least 60 points. They're 2-4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they
No,
combined for 60 points.
Because if you look at the Warriors last year, why they can make that run is because Draymond starts playing defense better. Klay Thompson's playing a little bit better defense.
Anthony Davis
Wiggins.
gonna start playing some D.
Well, the Lakers, they come up with plays like when you have those guys. I think the Mavs too fall back into they hire Nico Harrison. They already had the Mavs. Nico Harrison doesn't want to play defense. Nico Harrison is a Nike guy. You don't sell shoes by playing defense.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to go and put this team together a different way. And you can't hire a GM and a coach who don't want to have the same theory.
Right.
And so it's just all put together in the wrong way. That, again, if I would made that trade for Kyrie 2 or 3 games into it, I would have seen Jason Kidd walk in that locker room, not even talk to the team, go back and do whatever, and just be like, whatever. And I'd be like, cool, you're gone. I'm going to go bring in Mike D'Antoni. We're not going to play a lick of defense. And let's go just run and try and score 200 points a game.
Listen.
And we won't win. We won't win anything, but we weren't going to win anything before we trade for Kyrie either. Like, let's not pretend the Mavs were going to get out of the second round of the playoffs. They were going to make the playoffs. They weren't going to get out of the second round. We knew Luka was going to hit a rougher patch down the end of the season because he has not rested in 2-3 seasons.
Yep.
He keeps playing. We knew all this was coming. They tried to find a way to get him through that hump by getting somebody else who could score.
like a bridge
but
to help him.
you trade away Dorian Finney-Smith, who was one guy that everybody thought was going to be untouchable.
3 and D.
You still never found that big guy you needed.
Finney-Smith. That was the name I was looking for.
Yeah.
3 and D guy, baby.
An amazing defender.
Yeah.
And so you did all those things, and then you just still tried to have the same identity as before. But, like, Nico Harrison is doing the same thing they've done in Atlanta, which is you have a guy who wants to play a type of basketball that it takes a very specific group of people around him to play with. And when you can't put that together, you instead of just going, hey, Luka, you want to be the best basketball player in the world? Go win titles. This is how we need you to play. We're going to be rough on you. If you leave, you leave. Fine, but it's about winning titles. And if you don't want to win titles, you just want to score, go do it somewhere else. I don't care. But they don't want to do that because it's about money, not about winning titles. And so they're going to baby him. And as long as he's on that team and they don't be rough with him, the same with Trae Young in Atlanta, you're never winning anything.
Yeah, and they were closer last year.
Because you had Jalen Brunson on the deal.
You had exactly.
And that was the thing, is if you would have paid
recipe.
Jalen Brunson, you could have then tried to go out and get another piece.
I will admit they should have paid him earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But once that didn't happen,
And I'm not saying I was wrong
anyway.
on Jalen Brunson too.
Yeah.
I did not think he was going to turn
Blow up
out to
like
be
that. Nobody did.
No, and not think what he's doing with the Knicks this year. I didn't think he'd be able to repeat how well he
but
played.
they should have paid him
I was
early.
wrong about that.
They should when they
100%.
first started. They should have paid him when we first started
100%.
ascending. Agreed. I'm with you. No, I
And
agree.
then I think the other part of that was you went and got Christian Wood because you wanted a stretch.
I thought that was a good move.
It wasn't though because it was the beginning of no defense.
That's true, but
And
it was a different team. Though.
needed to be
they
a
were a different
stretch-
team at the time.
They were, but he needed to be a stretch 5 on that team. And then they were like, we can't even play him at 5 because he refuses to play defense in the post.
I thought Jason Kidd would be able to motivate him to play D. That was a knock on him even in Houston, and that was a knock on him going there. Everybody thought Jason Kidd, defensive-minded guy, will motivate him.
Yes.
And also, his teammates are most of them are defensive guys.
Yeah.
But then when they shipped all those guys out, well,
No, but he
Yeah.
never.
Right.
He
Right.
was
Defensive
never.
influence anymore.
Once they had to put him at the 4 instead of the 5, you knew it was kind of already not working.
Yeah.
And he plays good offense.
Oh, yeah.
But again, Kyrie is playing good offense too. The problem is what you really needed in the Mavs was a stretch 5, like how in Milwaukee they have Robin Lopez, who's not a great defender. But he can shoot a 3 now. And he can play a little bit
And
of
he's
post
7
defense.
foot.
He's 7 foot tall, and he can go
Exactly.
inside there. And
Yes.
it's huge because now it means Giannis can get to the paint and he can stand on the 3-point line. If you come off and
And
you're trying to
Giannis
defend,
plays defense too.
then Lopez is going to get in there. But Lopez can get in the paint and play defense. You need that guy. They haven't been able to find him. They were hoping it was going to be Christian Wood, and that was the beginning of it starting to collapse.
That's a great point.
And when that piece didn't hit, it's just been a series of dominoes going to, what did we say at the beginning of the season? Me and Hart said that there is no way Luka was going to be able to play a full season
Not at all.
at the pace he was playing at the beginning of the year because your body breaks down. And obviously now he's fat according to Atlanta. So it all just steamrolled into one big
ATL,
piece.
sorry.
And if you want to blame it on Kyrie, that's fine. He's a pawn in this game of what happened with the Mavs.
Exactly.
I know,
this season.
think about it. They think he's fat in Atlanta. Listen, Atlanta, it's thickness is celebrated in Atlanta. All right, they like
Not
what-
for the visitors.
Hey, not like
not for the
I guess
visitors.
they want to be more toned up
Exactly.
and sexy. And
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Luka?
Luka's
Come
not
to
toned.
San Antonio. You were in fitness shape in San Antonio.
Just ask Charles Barkley.
Guys, we're okay. If the Mavs do not make it into the playoffs, it'll be the first time since the NBA has had 3 teams in the state of Texas that not one of them made the playoffs. And I believe it's been since 1980, 1981, that season where they had 3 teams in the state of Texas.
Man.
So it was the first time ever. And also it'll be the first time that all the Cali teams make it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the Cali teams are in right now.
Sacramento's playing well.
Well,
Sacramento's
that
probably
never
the
happened.
better
How
team.
many times has the Spurs been bad and Sacramento
That's
good?
what I'm saying. We're
That's not rare.
Unprecedented times
Sac
right now,
City,
guys.
baby.
Like, what is happening? Oh man, and the Knicks, are the New York teams like the Knicks are in, right?
Not the Brooklyn
Nah,
Nets,
the
I don't
Brooks-
think.
Brooklyn's
No,
not
the
in,
Nets
though.
are not going to be in, I don't think.
All right, so that would have been crazy too. All right. Anyway, all right, we'll get to the flex on the other side, right here on Ball to Line, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Time for the flex. Oh, by the way, tomorrow you'll have we'll have the flex crew tomorrow? Yep. Okay, I thought we would. I just wanted to make sure. Because I think we have full shows all week long. Matter of fact, we'll give you some details on actually how you can catch Texas baseball.
That's right.
Because Texas baseball in action today, actually.
They're about to start.
Right about
Okay,
now. It's a pregame's already happening on 1260 and 1019. Pregame is happening, and then the game will tip off. Our first pitch will be here just in a second.
That's
All
why
right.
he's the real MVP. All right, there you go.
The real MVP.
All right, go to FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all of your social media platforms. Like I said, tomorrow you can catch up with the Flex crew. They will be doing the Flex Wednesday night show right after we are done on Ball Don't Lie, so right at 7 o'clock. Also, you can go check out some of the older Flex shows. They got the Bryce Hager Flex show up there also. Ken Folk still up there.
That's right.
Getting some
Got
love.
him. Got him. Give him some love.
Nico Hamilton and his people hanging out. Pops came out too to
That's
kick it. So they had a great conversation with the Flex crew. You can go check out that as well on FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all of your social media platforms. All right, we'll get to the break here. I want to get into the Sark media availability next segment, so we'll dive into it. He talked about a lot of different things. He was asked about almost every relevant position that you want to know about. So we'll get into it, talk about it. Also dive into a little Texas football spring discussion. Go behind the burnt orange curtain right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. We'll give you some updates on Texas baseball, actually, in action already, facing Air Force already.
Spoiler
happening right
alert!
now.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, definitely got to let that go down in case somebody out there is recording the game or something like that. We'll give you some updates, though, coming up. Also, we'll get into some Texas football conversation here. Sark met with the media, had a media availability after their last spring football practice, and I believe now they're talking about 4 practices and a spring game left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's winding down. So we'll get into some of his comments about how the players are looking in spring football. Also, it is Top of the Charts Tuesday. We play jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history, my favorite musically themed day of the week. Thanks to my man Patrick, always working hard for us. You can also be a part of the show Specs text line 512-337-3776. You can also hit us up via Twitter. Harge is at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. Before we get to the Sark audio here and start talking some Texas spring football, real quick though, because we were getting into some we didn't get into it, but I brought up the Masters earlier in the show. Off the record, we'll get into the Masters dinner, which is happening today. Scotty Scheffler, all right, shout out. He's the one, of course, that's the Masters champion, the latest Masters champion, who's the one that gets to pick the menu of the Masters dinner, and we'll get into that in Off the Record and talk about what we would serve if we were Masters champion at our Masters dinner. What you got for the people coming up in Hard Knock Life?
I am going to talk again, one more time, about this baseball, the clock, and how it has been perceived by everyone around.
It's a hit.
It is.
It's a hit.
It is.
When are y'all going? Okay, you know what? I always charge you up about this. I'm gonna do it again. I charged you up. I charged you up on the show when, because I know you weren't a Kellen Moore fan for a while, so
Still not.
And still not.
Yeah.
But with Kellen Moore, when he would rise to the occasion and have a great game plan or coordinate a great game with the Cowboys, I always brought it up. I charged you up about it.
You did.
I'm gonna charge you up about this too, because I know you don't like Rob Manfred. When you gonna give Rob Manfred some credit?
Oh, he'll never get that.
He did a great job with this.
He's doing a great job.
This was
but
a great job.
It's just like trying to be nice to Roger Goodell, right? You always think you got the answer, but there's still some things that you're always wondering about him.
He pushed for this.
He did.
It was a long time project for him. This is something that,
like I told you, it started in the minor leagues.
Yeah,
they
but
worked it in the minor leagues.
It was part of his deliberate
vision.
push that no, man, let's test it out first in the minor leagues. Let's make sure we work out as many of the kinks as we can before we bring these rules mainstream to the game. And probably the biggest change in Major League Baseball since, I don't know. I mean, what's been a bigger change in Major League Baseball than the changes they've tried to integrate this year?
Well, they were using harder baseballs at one point, which is why they were hitting home runs.
Well, I know. Is that bigger than this change? This is a pretty big shit. This is a pretty big change.
I'm not even worried about the pitch clock. That's the other part. The best part that he did was get rid of the shift. So now guys are hitting the ball and working on their average again.
Totally agree.
So I will give him credit for that. I will give him the time.
I don't know if any of them have been bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of them have been bad so far. Okay, give me a negative review about any of the rule changes so far. Guys are stealing more bases.
I don't think
guys are hitting more. Talking about singles being emphasized.
I do agree with that.
Games are shorter. Scoring's up.
The one thing that I do not like about
don't want to give Rob Manfred credit.
I do not. I do not. I do not. Rob Manfred. Yeah, he's a clown when it comes down to this stuff.
I know you don't like Rob Manfred.
But here's the other part. This is what I will say about the entire game. Number one, you're right. The game is more exciting. There is a lot going on. You're scoring a ton of runs, and you're still getting it done in record time right now.
It's true.
The best part about it all is it makes sure that you're engaged in the ball game, because you can't just be walking around like you were before.
You're talking about players.
I'm talking
not
about
just fans.
Players and fans.
Okay, both.
But the biggest question that I want to see after this month, right? Like the whole entire month of April.
The sample size?
I want to see what the sales are.
What do you mean?
Financial. I'm talking about
revenue?
I'm talking about revenue for the stadiums as far as concessions.
I got you.
Because now you're not there near as long. you you have to consume everything quickly. Because if you go to the bathroom, remember I always say, I'm not going to leave if Jordan's coming up. I'm going to stay there.
Yeah.
Well, now it's hard for you to go and get something to eat and come back.
You can barely check your phone now.
Exactly.
You used to be able to read something.
Yeah,
you could bring
like,
books to the
oh,
ballpark.
my goodness.
What's more of an insult to bring a book to
Just
a ballpark?
sitting there, just flipping pages.
It's like checking your phone during sex. I mean,
Yeah.
you're bringing a book to the ballpark?
Yes.
What says your game is boring, like bringing a book to the ballpark?
Thank you.
Now, no. You
Now,
bring
no
your
much.
book,
You bring your
you're
book.
going to miss something.
You're going to miss part of the game.
You're going to miss the action.
You're going to be like, damn, we already in the fifth?
or you're going to lose track
Yeah,
of your reading
exactly.
wherever you are in the book. Come
Exactly.
on. It used to be like a thing. Like, people like, right? They would bring like books to the
They
crazy.
do. Yeah.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want a game like that.
So you got to pay a lot of attention to everything that's going on, and you got to do it early.
Burnt Orange Yeti said, Rod, this is the biggest change, no doubt. Someone says lowering the mound was big. I just think it's. I've heard some people compare it to integration. Like it's that big. Like it's that big of a change for the game.
Integration?
Exactly. Think about it.
I'm like, man, that is.
He said that was the biggest, dramatic change in the game.
Yeah.
And he said this is the only thing that he counts that's close to that. Is that he did say integration was bigger.
Yeah.
But he said like next to integration, this is probably the biggest
There's some
change
major
in the game.
changes. There are some major changes that are involved in
And
this.
it was so necessary. I know people don't like it, but it's so necessary.
Will this get you out to the ballpark more?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Then that is the biggest change.
Yes. Rob B will go
Rob
to
B will go to the game,
Dude, the
dog.
Rangers game, the game they just lost, was it 2-1? 2-1 to the Orioles?
Yeah.
What was it? It was like a 2-hour and 20-minute game. Bro.
You know your boy's like, man, now we could go do some other stuff afterwards.
It seems like whatever the algorithm, I know we're going to talk about this in Harsh Knock Life, so I'm sorry to be spoiling your stuff.
No, we'll
get
still be in it too.
We'll get in Texas football here in a second. But it seems like the algorithm has worked out perfectly where if the game is low scoring, it's quick.
Yep.
And if the game ends up being longer, it's high scoring.
Yep.
And he's like, well, I'll take a longer game if it's high scoring. That means there's a lot of action, the pace is up. But if it's going to be a low scoring game, can we get it out of the way pretty quickly? So it seems like all the rules are working toward that trend. I'm not sure I'm sure there are exceptions, but that seems to be the case. I'm going to go track that when I get some time over the weekend. We got a longer weekend because I'm going to go back and track that.
No doubt.
And see if that actually is the pattern that I'm starting to recognize. Anyway, looking forward to Harsh Knock Life because that was a little preview, a little teaser, appetizer there.
No doubt.
Did you ask Sark about the new rule changes in
I
baseball?
didn't ask him about
Sark's a baseball guy like you.
He is a huge baseball guy.
You said you talked to him about baseball.
I talked to him about baseball, but I wanted to know more about his career.
Okay, give me get anything you can tell us from your conversation with Sark about baseball.
He said I was good. I was not elite.
Oh, he said that about himself.
Yeah.
Okay, what did Sark play?
He played third base and he pitched.
All right.
Yeah, and he was. The funny part about it is he went to USC, transferred out, and when he transferred out of USC, they won the national championship in baseball.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, that one stung a little bit.
I appreciate that Sark's got a sense of humor.
He does.
Self-deprecating.
He
Good
does.
for him.
He does.
Let me ask you, how much heat? What was his fastest throw as a pitcher?
Well, I didn't get into that
because ask him that
because I knew it wasn't that much. because
you
if it
didn't want to
was,
feel
he
bad
would
about himself.
Well, he would have kept playing. If he was that, because what did he say? It was good.
He's a quarterback, so
I wasn't elite.
okay.
That's what he said.
All right.
I was good.
You knew that your response to whatever he said, whatever number, I would hit that out of the park.
I was going to
knock that out of the park.
I would have been like, I would have taken all that smoke.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Some text said this is Manfred's legacy. I think it is his legacy.
It is.
I think Manfred was one of the most unpopular commissioners in major American sports that we've seen in a long, long time.
Him and not Roselle. Him and
Goodell?
Goodell.
Oh, Goodell's up there too.
That's what I'm saying. These two together.
Yes, you're right.
Because this is their reign.
You're right. And Goodell's got a hell of a legacy. Goodell's legacy is basically the owners love him because he
does what they ask.
Yeah, he's basically made them more money than any other commissioner in the history of the NFL. And by the way, I predict he'll be a billionaire before he's done with the NFL.
Well, let's put it this way. He's made more money than any commissioner in sports.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to say in NFL. We can say in sports.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I think he'll be a billionaire before it's because he's up for a new contract, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're going to negotiate. I guarantee you it's going to be robust.
I think he just got it.
I don't know if he's got it just yet. I think they agreed to start negotiating it.
Okay.
And the details are hard to come by, but I think they agreed to start negotiating for it. So they're gonna. It'll be done probably before the next season starts, no question. Okay. Anyway, let's get to Sark here because he had immediate availability and he spoke with the media about a lot of things, different topics, of course. But he also spoke about the Saturday scrimmage. He actually opened up. With no questions, giving his kind of summary of the Saturday scrimmage. Here is Sark giving his thoughts on what happened this past weekend.
I thought just a little bit of a recap from Saturday from the scrimmage. I thought our veterans really were dialed into, kind of what we were doing, what we were trying to do, the way we practiced, the way we scrimmaged. I thought it was good Saturday for a lot of our younger players. You could feel a little bit of excitement, a little kind of some unforced errors early on in the scrimmage, and then they started to kind of settle in and start to play the way they had been practicing, which is why you need to scrimmage. You got to put guys in some uncomfortable settings, and then they got to learn how to get comfortable in those settings. So that was positive. Obviously, we have 2 weeks to go, or 6 practices we just finished up the last of 6, so we got 5 more to go. We're just trying to be really intentional with our approach every day that we go and what we're trying to accomplish and why we're trying to do certain things, whether that's on offense, defense, or special teams. And the goal is to continue to push the guys. Spring ball is obviously a unique time of year where there's no game, right? We have our spring game, but there's no real opponent at the end of it. So everybody has got to be really intentional in their approach to what they need to do for themselves to continue to raise their level of play and whatever that looks like. It could be knowledge of the system. It could be fundamental or technique. It could be how to recover physically so that you're prepared to go again the next time, so that we can continue to grow individually, and then ultimately our team is better, at the end of 15 practices than we were at the start of the whole thing.
All right. No, I agree with that. He's basically, I've always described it, and he described it in great detail, and he was very articulate, did a great job. But I described it as a baseline. This is all about seeing what players can develop a baseline of productivity. Young players, think of them, their trajectory, the developmental curve, it oftentimes reminds you of a roller coaster. It's up. There are these deep, deep valleys. But also that you can see the flashes, all right? And they really get to these heights of their trajectory, and you see it, but they lack the consistency. And what you want to see is a baseline where you don't get the valleys, you don't get I always say you have a high ceiling, but you also have a really deep floor. You don't get the deep floor. Basically, guys uplift their floor, start to establish a baseline, and then they hit their ceiling more often, but they never hit a deep floor. Their floor is always that baseline where you never get a player that is going to give you a consistently subpar performance. Most of the time, you'll get that baseline. That's what he's trying to establish.
Right, and there's a lot of guys that definitely need to establish that baseline so he knows what kind of pressure. Just like he said, I want to see these guys, how they operate under pressure.
Exactly.
I want to see exactly what gets them going. How do I need to react to them? All the extra stuff that goes into it. This is the time for it to be challenged. This is the time where you learn a lot about them. So it's one of those deals where Sark is understanding his team way better than before. Like he's bringing in guys and bringing in these different groups that are now being challenged at a whole nother level. So it's been impressive. It's a good move by him, too, by putting those guys in those types of situations.
Speaking of those guys, a lot of those guys are veterans who are stepping up. And Sark was also asked about those vocal leaders, those veteran leaders that are stepping up. And he basically went down a list of guys, started naming some guys. Here's Sark when he was asked about what veteran leaders are establishing themselves during this spring session.
I don't know if it's so much of a surprise. I think we're pretty intentional with some of the guys of what they do and how they do it. But I think Jordan Whittington has definitely kind of stepped into that role offensively. I think Quinn has done a nice job and is getting more and more comfortable in that role. I think JT Sanders offensively, those are a few guys. I think defensively, Jaron Thompson definitely feels like kind of like one of those guys. I think Byron Murphy feels like one of those guys. So, I'm just kind of naming a few. I think Barron Sorrell has grown up that way. And a lot of those guys, it's helpful for them because they've been with us now. They're going into year 3 with us from the beginning. So they're very comfortable with the things that they know are meaningful to us, that are important to us as a staff. And they've learned now why it's important. And so they can kind of be that conduit between a younger player and ourselves. And a lot of times that carries more weight coming from a player than it does coming from a coach. So the more those guys can support that message, I think the more impactful it is on our team.
All right, there you go. Sark talking about the different guys that have stepped up, named a lot of those veterans. Yeah, I think there's a difference between, a dude, a dog, and a dud, right?
Yep.
There's some guys, and nothing against them, they're just duds. They're not going to offer much, other than emotional support for the team. They're dudes, and a dude is someone that contributes to the roster. They should be a starter or at least a regular contributor on the team, but you got to have more dogs and dudes than duds. All right, and
You don't want duds.
you don't want duds. You want as few duds as possible.
Exactly.
Dogs and dudes. Not everybody can be a dog, and not everybody's going to be a dude. But you want as many of those on your team as possible. No duds. And I think that's what the spring is mostly about for Sark. Who are my dogs?
Separating.
Who are my dogs? Who are my dudes? Because a dude can turn into a dog.
Yep.
It's just a few variables that are off. All right? That dude can be a dog. Now put that dude into a possession to be a dog once you identify, he a dude. But once you identify who the dogs are, those are your leaders.
Yep.
Then you can establish, all right, I got dogs here. I got dogs all across the roster on these positions, and I got dudes right behind them. So I need these dogs to teach these dudes how to be dogs.
Yep.
That's how you build it.
Yeah.
And then the duds, you can't give up on the duds, but you'd like
They got a lot more work to do.
They got a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to give up on them, but you
Right.
know, going into spring, getting out of spring ball and going into fall, most of the reps will be taken by the dogs and the dudes.
Yep, the dudes
We
and
know
the
that.
dogs.
Yeah. That's
And that's understandable. I mean, and that's where the self-reflection and that self-evaluation about where do I fall into that category and how do I get to that next level.
exactly.
And so that's where you got to do that personal inventory about what's next for me and find out, hey, and he talked about it. I'm sure we're going to get into that in a minute about the portal. The portal giveth
Yeah,
and
we
it
do
taketh
have that.
away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a good cut there.
Yeah.
He talks about the portal. And I believe it was it Dr. Pizarro that asked him about that? Dr. Ruben Pizarro that asked him about?
I'm not sure.
I believe it was. Then he goes into the portal comment. And I'm not sure exactly what prompted him to kind of go off, but and he brings up the women, LSU's national title team, but just talking about how it affects the landscape. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on too. But there is I'll get into it in Raj Round the Day if we don't get to all the sound, because there's some really compelling cuts about individual positions. Talks about running backs and edge rushers and all the different moving parts. So we'll get into, and even tight end, which I think is also a really intriguing position this year. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on, but I want to leave a little bit extra time for Hard Knock Life. We previewed Hard Knock Life coming up, but let the people know what you got coming up.
We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Major League Baseball, the timing of it all, and some of the numbers that are getting into what this season has already looked like early, the good returns that the baseball has had early.
And will my man Harge give Rob Manfred some credit? He ain't did it yet. He refuses to do it.
He falls into that Kellen Moore.
He likes everything he has done, but he's not going to give him the individual credit. All right, we'll come back. Hard Knock Live. Looking forward to it right here on Ball Don't Lie. Wonderful on the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Alp Leasing, because they're your friends too. Matter of fact, they always got your best interest in mind. That's why they've been doing business here in Austin for almost 4 decades. Apple Leasing has the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. I know that sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's really simple. All it takes is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. If it sounds a little too simple, it's because there's simple interest, easy lease. It makes everything simple because it allows you more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find a vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is out of control. Everybody knows it, including my friends over at Apple Leasing. So they want to walk you through every step of the process to help you avoid the inflation that has taken over every aspect of our society, car market included, and they can walk you through every step of the process. My friends at Apple Leasing, they're in it to save you a lot of money. As a matter of fact, you give them a call, 512-346-9977, and let them see how much money they can save you. They get all the same discounts, all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they pass those savings on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com.
Welcome back to a Top of the Charts Tuesday edition of Ball Don't Lie. It's your boy, Hardball Harge. You can follow me on Twitter at Hardball Harge. You can follow my man, Rob Babers, at Rob Babers. And, of course, you can follow the man behind the glass at It's Patrick Davis. We love it when you're a part of the show, so hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. And I know that there has been a lot of conversation. By the way, I wanted to give you an update. Spoiler alert, the University of Texas is up on Air Force, headed into the top of the second. Texas is up 3-0. Home run by my man Peyton Powell from Robinson, Texas. You know where Robinson, Texas is, guys. It's in the 254. Just wanted to let y'all know that.
I figured.
I guess you figured that out, right?
Yeah.
So Peyton Powell's continuing to hit the cover off the baseball and drive the ball all over the place. So kudos to him. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this baseball season and where they are. I understand that there's a lot of teams early and late that are having some troubles that may not be playing at the best of their abilities right now. But it is a long season, as I've said all year, with the University of Texas and, of course, Major League Baseball. One of the big things that Rob was talking about is the time clock. Well, everybody either loves it or they hate it. And as for players, it's good if you're a defensive player. For some batters in the box, and we've seen it multiple times, guys have been called out at the plate for not looking at the pitcher by the 8-second mark. Now, if they get on the mound, you have to be engaged. One thing that Mike Trout has done is, like, he never hardly leaves the batter's box. Like, he'll take a pitch, look at the third base coach. What sign are you going to give Mike Trout? He's not giving – you're not going to hit and run with him. You're going to let him hit, and if he decides to run, that's how you're going to do that. So it's not going to be one of those things. But the big thing that I've noticed throughout this, number one, is the time at the plate. The time of the games. And I want to give you this number. So starting way back in 2012, the average Major League game was 3 hours. That's not bad, to be quite honest with you. Like you were talking about with football, right? In comparison,
most NFL games are 3 hours.
About 3 hours, yeah. So that's good if you're going to be at a game and you're at that 3 hour mark. In 2013, it was 304. 2014, it was 307. 2015, it went back to 3 hours. 2016, it was 304. 2017, 308. 2018, 304. 2019, 310. 2020, COVID year, it was 3 hours and 6 minutes. 2021 was 3 hours and 11 minutes. In 2022, it was 3 hours and 6 minutes. So that's the average now.
Average.
So when you formulate all of these and put them all together, that's not bad at all.
Like I said, if football games are just as long, but people have a different perception of football because the pace, there's more action in football.
Absolutely.
So it was more about the action involved in baseball, not necessarily the length all the time.
And they are getting a lot more action. We talked about the scoring. We talked about the stolen bases. Hidden runs are becoming better. But one of the things that I was more impressed with and was looking forward to, and I know some people were like, the shift is not good because how are you going to make people play the defense that you want them to play? You should be able to play your own defense.
Do you watch the NFL?
Right. That's what I'm
you
saying.
Watch the NFL?
Right.
They literally have changed every rule. You have to play defense just the way you can't even hit a quarterback. You sneeze on one, they're like penalty.
Let me get 15 yards on that.
What are y'all talking about? That's
and you might get
sports these days.
Exactly. So the game has kind of changed a little bit. But the one thing about it is I'm starting to see people's averages start to change. People are getting more base hits. They're driving the ball. And what do I always come in here and tell you about hitting? I'm like, you're more productive if you can drive the ball the other way. You stay on balls a lot longer, and you get an opportunity to raise your average. When you go up there and all you're thinking about is pulling the ball and trying to hit it out of the park, it changes the view of the game and changes the way you view the game. So one of the things that have happened this year is during this season, so through the first 75 games of the 2022 season, there were 17 opposite field home runs.
I like this.
17 of them. So it's like, okay, all right. You look at it, you look around, that's 75 games. and you don't want to hit the ball the other way, so we're going to try to figure it out. So they hit 17 home runs. This year, first 65 Major League Baseball games, there has been 24 opposite field home runs.
I like it.
Going back to the thought process of being a complete hitter at the plate, and now you can go up there and change your approach at times. And I know a lot of people were talking about, well, you can't just do it like that if a guy's throwing 100 miles an hour. I can agree to that just a little bit. And the reason why I say that is when we're going to go back, I'm going to sound like old man right here. When I was playing, guys were – if you threw 96, you were amazing. Like you were
Next
guaranteed to be a first-round pick, and we can teach you how to throw strikes and all that other stuff. But the thing about it was you were unique. So your people were looking at you a little bit different. Now everybody throws 100. So when I'm at the plate, it's not like it's new to me. Yeah. That's why you can see guys go up there and backspin a baseball so easily on some of these situations because they see it every day. It's like what we talk about with football. And we talk about it with basketball. We talk about it in every sport. When you get used to the speed of the game, everything slows down. At the very beginning, and they use this phrase a lot, it's like drinking water out of a fire hydrant. It's coming at you so quick that you don't know how to react. But once you see it every single day, it becomes natural to you. So, yes, it may be difficult to take a fastball that is on the corner at a certain amount of speed and not be able to fillet it that way, but you're seeing it every day. That's why there's a kid at Round Rock, and I'm going to give him a little love, Travis Sequoia. He's throwing 100 miles an hour. But those kids don't see that every day. That's why he's such a freak. But when he becomes in these
high level,
yes, it's going to be another kid out there throwing hard or another player throwing that hard. So that is one of the things that I continue to look at and say, all right, there are some things that have been adjusted in this game. To your point, Rob Manfred, but I'm going to give the Players Association a lot of love for this, for even agreeing to some of this, right, in their CBA. So you sit there and you watch the game and you're like, okay, what's going on with this? How is this happening? Are these guys making those adjustments? And this is keeping some of the guys in the game a little bit longer too. You know, their averages are going to go up. They've also brought in the DH to both leagues. So you're not having to face pitchers pitching against pitchers. Now everybody's playing on the same level playing field where you may not see a lot of people putting down bunts. I get it. I understand that. But the art of hitting is back a little bit, right? Like you really have to go up there and have an approach instead of I'm just going to turn and spin. I'm waiting for him to throw me something on the inner third, and I'm going to try to yank it out of the park. I get it.
Yeah.
But that's not baseball to me. And now, like Chipper said the other day, Chipper Jones said, you know, it's getting back to the old style of baseball where you do get to get after it a little bit and you start to play the game and do different things. And I understand if you want to be able to shift your outfield or, you know, you can still play guys to pull. You just have to have your shortstop on the right side of the left side of the bag. You got to have your second baseman on the right side of the bag. You can still play your shortstop in the hole. You can do that. As long as his feet is on the dirt, you got time to do that. And you can make those adjustments. So I don't think that the game has been taken away from certain parts of it. I think it has enhanced it. I think the games are fun. Even that you talked about that 2-hour game for the Rangers last night.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's an outstanding game, and it was a well-played game. So that's the other part of it. And I will 1,000% back this up. If you are a defensive player or you've ever played defense and a pitcher has walked around the mound for a long time trying to get his mind together, that can wear you out as a defensive player because now all of a sudden the ball is coming to you, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
you're distracted.
I'm distracted, and then all of a sudden, hey, the ball's coming. You know, you're just like, oh man, I wasn't expecting it because I didn't even know my pitcher was back on the mound because he's been walking around forever, taking deep breaths.
Trying to throw the base runner out. That kind of stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah.
throwing over there 5-6 times in a row.
It's I agree. It's basically they used to have this old saying in radio, right? You don't, you don't want a dead air. You know, dead air.
Yep.
That's basically baseball tried to take the dead air out of the game.
Right.
They're trying to take. There was a lot of dead air in baseball. Like I said, you could. The fact that people would brag about going to the ballpark and taking a book
Yeah.
was a straight up insult to the game. It's like checking your phone during sex. Like that is insulting. All right,
Man.
sorry. Like it is a sport, and you want to take your
That's
a
like
book to the
checking your
ballpark.
phone.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No. And I think Rob Manfred and the leadership of baseball took offense to it. Like that's the kind of game we're becoming.
Right.
People don't even read books, and yet the people that are fans of ours are taking books to the ballpark.
Exactly.
No,
They're
we're
bringing
done
their
with that.
Kindle. They're bringing their Kindle out there.
No, and now baseball, the faster pace. I think it was a brilliant move by Major League Baseball. I don't applaud Major League Baseball very often, but I think it was a great move.
And the things that I was talking about before, stolen bases, run scoring,
Stolen
hitting
bases
and
are
run.
back.
They're back in
Oh,
there, and
man.
it's so much fun to watch because
Showing
now
off the
you-
athleticism.
Exactly.
You get to see these freakish athletes.
And then you get to see these great catchers get an actual chance to throw somebody out.
Also
like
showing off the
Machete.
gun.
Like
Remember-
Machete.
Yeah.
Machado.
Maldonado.
Maldonado, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and not only that, you get to see games that have actual moments in them. So you get to see, hey man, a guy's on second, guy's at the plate, it's a one-run game.
yeah.
This matters. As opposed to, well, hitting the shift, fly out on the track.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's on base. No, there's no
Exactly.
intensity. There's no reason you
agree.
have
That's a
to be
great point.
watching the TV
Yeah.
at that moment or watching the field because it doesn't matter until something else happens. Now, men on first and second.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got a man on first and third, and he steals second. Now 2 in, and you're down 1, and the guy's at the plate, and now he can't hit in the shift, but he can all of a sudden put one over. It makes it so there's way more moments in a game that have the intensity of what you want in professional sports, and I think baseball lost that a lot for a lot of years because you could have a good enough pitcher just be like, I'm just a ground ball guy, and we'll put in the
Yeah.
shift, and what are they gonna do?
It was almost over strategized
Yeah.
to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
100%.
And now this is it's still the tactics and strategy change, but it's a little less strategy and more emphasis, like you said, now on individual players, their athleticism, making plays. You as an athlete can now go affect the game.
Exactly.
You
Now
as-
I can
my
go and
athleticism
do
can go
me.
affect the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
And man, you want to talk about how the RBIs are going to go up for some of these
Exactly.
big name hitters? Like Jordan got a 3-run home run last night, right? To tie the game. Now, in probably in previous rules, maybe a 1-runner, 2-runner, he can still hit the home run, but do you get the other guys on base?
Yeah.
Do you get the other guys there? All of this is adding to have more base runners, which means more runs, which means bigger hits, and it lets your stars become bigger stars.
Yeah, it's just the urgency now. I love that you brought that up, Patrick. I was like taking out a dead air out of the game. They're almost just like football. What's the most exciting parts of football, right? Red zone
Yep,
and
yep.
third down. Hell, they literally made a channel out of it because people love red zone. It just plays red zone. That's it. Film from red zone to red zone because what? That's urgency. That's
Yep.
that's what everybody wants to see. Oh man, this is it. Game. These are the points that are going to determine the game. These are the plays that are going to determine the game. And the same thing with baseball. You have more of those plays now that Patrick's talking about
Yep.
that are going to determine the game. And you can now in real time, you don't have to search for them or wait for them. They're happening.
They're happening.
As soon as that guy gets on
Everything's
base,
quick.
you know, all right, this is going to be a big moment here.
Yep.
And yeah, I remember when baseball, a guy getting on base wasn't such a big deal anymore.
Right. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
The guy
I expected that.
because the guy at the plate is not necessarily trying to.
He's not trying to advance him.
He's not trying to advance the runner. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now there is a different culture of baseball.
No doubt.
I love it. I think it's good for the game.
Breaking news. No, there's not a run that was scored in the University of Texas baseball game, but Cam Constantine got his first collegiate base hit at the University of Texas. This dude has been in the program for 3 seasons, and he got his first career base hit today. He had 10 at-bats this season, got his first
There you
hit, a
go.
seed up the middle. I'm so
that.
happy for
Well
that
done.
kid
There you go.
because he works hard. He's a team guy, and he doesn't get very many opportunities to play. And this time he got his first career hit at the University of Texas, and the team was so excited for him. They were giving him a standing ovation. very, very happy for that young man.
I like that.
Yeah.
And ending Harsh Knock Life on a good mojo.
On a
day.
hit.
Yeah, on a hit. Literally on a hit. I like that. All right, we come back. We'll talk a little Masters. Scotty Scheffler had. Ooh. Oh, he's
safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right, no spoiler alerts here. All right, we come back. We'll get into Scotty Scheffler's Masters dinner menu items, and then we'll tell you exactly what we probably would serve if we ever won the Masters. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. And we're going to talk a lot of Masters coming up later on this week because the Masters, I think, is going to be compelling for a lot of different reasons this year, but mostly because now the live golfers are involved. I think you have 18, I believe, live golfers that are going to take part in the match. I think that's the number. I think it's 18.
That's a big
Oh,
number.
and by the way, you hear they said they're going to, well, at least Greg Norman says this, they're going to celebrate on the 18th green if they win.
If one of them
NWO
win.
style. I'm not making that up.
That's your favorite style, though, right?
NWO style. They're going to go full on villain and pray. They're going to celebrate. I got to find that story, too. I'll find that story in a second.
Yeah.
Let's hit the sky. I know.
Craig Norman.
Yeah, I know.
Come on,
He is.
bro.
But you got to admit, he's embraced being a villain. He's
Oh, no, but he's embraced being the villain for a long time. He's just happy to be back in the news now.
He is. You can
He's
tell
a guy
that,
who's
too.
like, he was like, oh, man, I was a villain like 38 years ago.
I was a villain
I'm in the
before I
news again.
hooked up with the Saudis.
Yeah.
Now I'm really a
Now
villain.
you're really out there, yeah.
Now you're worldwide villain. Anyway, let's get to Scottie Scheffler's menu. So he won the Masters last year, the annual Champions Dinner at the Masters. Been happening for 70-plus years. And it's one of the coolest traditions, actually, in sports. The Masters doesn't get to me in terms of being a sentimental effect like it does a lot of people. But I think this is really cool that the Masters champion and all the Masters champions that are still alive and still with us, they go to the Masters dinner who have won the Masters. But the champion from that previous Masters, he picks the menu. He gets to pick all the items from the menu. Okay, so Scottie Scheffler's menu, gentlemen, here it is. You got cheeseburger sliders. All right, that's your that's kind of your
That's dope.
your main that's one of your like appetizers, your main appetizers. Then there's firecracker shrimp. How you like that?
I like that.
Sweet Thai chili and sriracha mayo. with
I
that.
like it.
I'm not
I
a
like
big
it.
I'm not a big mayo fan.
Well, we know.
I don't like the mayo.
We know, but it's sriracha.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't
So
like
the-
sriracha really either.
Yeah,
I'm out
I-
on both counts, but yeah, definitely not the mayo.
Yeah,
Done.
I'm with you. I don't like sriracha that much either. So
It's like when they're like, it's Chipotle mayo. You're like, that's another. I don't need the Chipotle either.
right.
jalapeno mayo. No, I don't want the mayo.
I don't
Mayo.
want no mayo.
Tortilla soup, one of my favorites actually.
Yep,
Love me some tortilla
that
soup.
works.
If you're a Texan, avocado, crispy blue tortilla strips, sour cream, cilantro, lime, fantastic. I love a good tortilla soup. Every time I go to a restaurant, if they got it on the menu, I will try to find out who's got the best tortilla soup out there.
Okay.
By the way, harder to get good tortilla soup than you think.
Well, depending on your flavor. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true too, because
That's
some
what it
people
is.
like
Yes.
watery. The consistency is
Yes.
really watery. I like a very thick
You like
tortilla
it thicker.
soup.
Yeah.
I want it thicker. I
Yeah.
want it basically
Yeah.
closer to being a
A
stew.
boy like it thick, huh?
Closer to being a stew than a soup. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I want it thicker. Anyway, getting back to it, the main course, Texas ribeye steak or blackened redfish.
You get a choice. I like that.
You get a choice there, and then your sides will be family style mac and cheese. Can't go wrong there. Jalapeno cream corn. I'm not a cream corn fan. I like my corn on the cob or just regular kernels. Not a fan of the cream corn. Right?
I got you.
What do you put in cream corn? Just cream to make it cream corn? Like I don't know.
I don't.
It's
I'm
good,
fine
though.
with-
You've made cream corn?
No, I'm a fan of the corn though.
But
Just
yeah,
give me
yeah.
corn.
But on a cob or
I'm
a
gonna
kernel.
tell you
Yeah.
who got some really good cream
Some
corn.
bomb cream corn?
Yes.
Who?
Pokey Joe's.
You know, I've seen their cream corn.
It is really good.
Really?
Yeah.
What's in
know.
cream corn?
It's sweeter. It's on the sweeter version.
So they're different. Okay, so there's a sweeter cream corn
There's a
and then
sweet corn. Yeah,
more of a tart one.
Yeah. Now I don't know how tart it is.
I know what's in
I never get that one.
You never had the-
I never get the tart one.
No, but it's like okay, like cornbread. Cornbread can be sweet or it can just be like
I'm always on
regular
the sweet cornbread.
Yeah, I'm always
on
who
the
the hell
sweet
wants
cornbread.
regular cornbread?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you want sweet cornbread?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Who are these people just
Yep.
want regular cornbread?
Yep.
Also, you get fried Brussels sprouts. I've been on the Brussels sprout kick lately.
I like it.
Fried, does that mean they like,
I don't know how they fry it
fried?
though. I don't know how they might be air fried.
I don't know. Yeah.
They're gonna air fry.
Oh, you might be right.
They're gonna be.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then seasoned fries.
Yep.
The dessert, warm chocolate chip skillet cookie.
Yep.
And milk and cookies ice cream. There you go.
I like it.
That's it.
I like it.
All right, gentlemen. If you were the Masters champion, what would you serve at your Masters dinner?
Well, my main would be I would have pork chops, smothered pork chops.
Oh, I love the
Yeah,
detail there.
yeah.
Smothered.
pork chops.
Oh, so the gravy, what kind of gravy are we
Oh,
going
you know
to?
it's brown.
It's brown. Good. Oh,
You
it's
know
pork
it's
chops.
brown. It's
Yeah,
pork chop. Yeah,
white
it can't be
gravy on
done.
pork
Yeah,
chops.
it can't be unless
That's
it's fried.
absurd.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, unless it's fried.
I like
and
that.
I would have the smothered pork chops. I would have macaroni and cheese. and I would
wrong
have
with that.
cabbage. Cabbage would be in the mix there as
Really?
well. Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling you on that.
And then
Cabbage.
I definitely would have some cornbread. You gonna eat your
Sweet cornbread.
Jiffy. You know what I'm saying? Yellow box.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. All right.
Yeah.
I'm down. All right,
I'm down
Patrick,
with that.
what
And
you
I would
got?
and I would
Oh, go
have
ahead.
instead of the tortilla soup, which I'm a big fan of, I would have chili as my soup.
Okay, beans or no beans?
No beans.
So you're no beans in your chili.
I
guy.
like beans, but
No,
I'm serving everybody.
You serving everybody.
I'm serving
But
everybody.
it's supposed to be your menu, though.
But
You
I try
want
to look
people
out
to
for
have a taste
everybody.
of what Harge likes.
Hey, the Harge like the beans in his
Then
chili.
put the beans up in them chili.
But I want to make sure everybody enjoys
Nah,
themselves.
ain't about them. It's about you.
And you'll get a side of potato chips. You know what kind? Doritos.
Why? With the chili?
Hey, why not? Just throw it out there. You get
No,
crackers
that's
with it. You get
random.
crackers with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick, what you got on your?
No, I don't mind. It seems hard because I probably go something. I go mind games and I go as spicy as I could go.
Oh, you trying to intimidate your opponent?
Oh, no,
No,
and
you're
I
trying to
want
make
all
them
of
hurt
them.
on the back.
I want all of them.
Give him the bubble guts off his
Yeah.
head.
Well, I mean, hey man, you always speed up play, and they're like, man, I
Yeah.
gotta take a break.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
try
like
to go spicy on that one. So probably just gonna go it's like I make some really good spicy queso. Really spicy queso is really
That's
good.
nice. Yeah, I like that.
And then maybe we just go fajitas.
That's a great idea.
Go fajitas.
I
go,
love that.
Go with that, and then
That's a Tex-Mex thing. I like that.
you know if you want to side with, maybe we'll go hot wings too, just to get. We'll throw in some wings to get them
Ooh.
spicy there. I'm just gonna go as spicy as possible
you need
across
some
the board.
vegetables or something.
Yeah,
some
we'll
greens.
get some spicy vegetables.
No spicy vegetables, man. Some asparagus tips or something. Man, that's right there by, it sounds amazing, but as a 40-something-year-old man, I'm not
I
paying
know that's
price
what I'm
for
saying
that
though.
one.
I'm gonna take out the rest. Take a half the field.
They're all old. They're all old. You know they got
I'll
digestive
take
issues.
half the field out by that dinner.
They're all gonna have Malox and
Yeah.
Pepto-Bismol that night trying to get right. I feel you on that, Pat. I like that. I'm gonna go just old barbecue, man. Barbecue is probably my favorite genre of food.
Yep,
There's one,
yep.
so I'm going BBQ, and I'll probably go. Oh, this is good. Out with the like maybe an appetizer or something. Maybe I'll go with something Cajun. Maybe we'll go with some jambalaya or like some like crawfish etouffee, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I do something like that. I do
I'm
something
in with
Cajun.
that.
Do some Creole.
I make
for the
everybody do
appetizers.
crawfish.
Fried alligator.
Oh, man, you going all the way
Oh,
Cajun.
for the appetizers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
with a little fried
okay.
gator.
Appetizers.
Yeah, a little crawfish etouffee. Maybe a little cup of gumbo if
Yeah,
you want.
I
Whatever,
like
something
that.
like that.
I'll
That's how we
definitely
go.
be down with that.
That's how we going.
And some boudin out there, right?
Yeah, you know what? Man, I might have to scrap the damn barbecue and just go all Cajun.
There
'Cause
it
you're
is.
right. Just go with
Yeah.
boudin and gumbo,
Yeah,
crawfish etouffee, full Cajun menu, man.
I like it.
You know it's gonna be great when one of them crawfish gets out on the 18th green. Just walking, when a crawfish boil and someone just walking across the yard trying to make the escape.
Hey, that's what
I
I'm
got
talking
a
about.
chance. I
like
got a
that.
chance.
Boudin balls.
I
I
like
like
it.
that.
Boudin
I like
balls.
that.
There you go.
All right, we come back. We got NFL news, notes, and nuggets to get to. Todd McShay has his mock draft that came out today. We'll try to piecemeal some of that together. Derrick Henry to Dallas. This is a rumor that just started today, and we'll get you the latest. Also, DeAndre Hopkins may be one of those players out there potentially being released. We'll get to that. And Pro Football Focus draft simulator projections. Yes, another projection that has the Cowboys taking Bijan Robinson. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Top of the charts Tuesday. My man Patrick plays jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Wow. We've had a lot of Michael Jackson on the show. Well, either Michael Jackson or Jackson 5, I should say.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the show. But this is also one of the all-time greats. See? Patrick, hard to get that throw out there.
Before I got there too fast.
Did you I had one of remember the Michael Jackson jackets?
Oh, I had one.
I had one of those.
Yeah.
Me and my brother actually had matched. I believe there's a picture of both of us in our Michael Jackson jackets.
I had one.
As kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much money they made off those knockoff Michael Jackson jackets.
They made a ton.
I want to say almost every damn kid that around that time was around my age. Hell, even you're a little bit older. My brother's your age, but it's a little bit older.
Another one.
Yeah, it was red, and I believe mine had the gold, I don't know, sequin stuff on the shoulders.
Mine looked more like Eddie Murphy's in Raw.
There was a little bit of that.
Yeah, because that's a Thriller jacket.
Yes, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, it did kind of
did he wear the one glove?
No, well, it depends. I didn't have a baseball glove that day.
I didn't have the one glove.
I might have had a baseball game that day.
Did not have the one glove. I think top of the charts Tuesday. My man Patrick doing a great job bringing back some of the memories. You can be a part of the show. Hit us up on the Specs text line 512-337-3776. Raj, round the day. I'm just going to get back to the Sark sound. There's a lot of Sark sound we haven't gotten to about the individual positions. So we'll get back to talking some Texas football, and I'll share some of kind of my research. I've been doing some research about the Texas team in spring, and I'll share some of that as we go through some of the Sark audio. So that's what we'll do. Go behind the Burn Orange Curtain next segment. But right now, time for NFL news, notes, and nuggets. There are a lot of different stories to hit, gentlemen. I think we should start with this Derrick Henry thing that Bill Barnwell threw out there. Mm-hmm. Now, Hard, you the first one on this show that I remember saying, hey, man, Derrick Henry might be available. And then it came out that Derrick Henry was indeed a trade. He was trade bait, potentially. That he was available via trade, but no team that I've seen any reports that any team was interested in trading for a Derrick Henry.
No, I hadn't seen it yet until...
Well, according to Bill Barnwell, he's talking about free agents, and basically what he is stating, and he had a piece that he wrote for ESPN, and it's a ESPN Plus piece where 7 teams with roster holes and what's next, a 2023 NFL kind of free agency piece. And one of the scenarios that he brings up is Derrick Henry, who is a potential cut candidate, especially following the draft. Remember, it's one of the deepest running back drafts really in the last 10, 15 years. It is really deep. You're going to get starting running backs in the 3rd and 4th round in this draft, multiple ones in the 3rd and 4th round. Guarantee you that. I could right now say that, hell, and Rojo might be one of those guys. But that's how deep this running back draft is. And he's saying after this deep running back draft, after everybody's loaded up on running backs and have had their feel on free agent running backs as well, that Derrick Henry will be a potential cut candidate. And Bill Barnwell, he is prognosticating that the former NFL rushing champ is potentially going to be falling into Dallas's lap. Mm-hmm. He said, and essentially Barnwell asserts that he believes the Cowboys would prefer to add another veteran rather than relying on a rookie running back. We've talked about if Bijan's there, Cowboys should do it, but I think we all agree Bijan might not be there.
Right.
We all agree you're going to trade up to go get Bijan. And now he's saying that is not accurate. They've added Ronald Jones, who's a veteran in this piece, but they're very much interested in adding a premium pick in the draft on a running back. And again, they also are thinking about Tony Pollard, who they might have to replace, and there are thoughts that they may not want to sign him to a long-term deal. And I agree, you should not sign Pony to a long-term deal. So Barnwell asserts that Dallas is concerned about Pollard's rehab from his leg and ankle injury, and that basically the Cowboys might consider a discounted, a veteran, aging Derrick Henry if he is indeed cut by the Tennessee Titans. And this would be post-draft, so this would be assumption that if they did get a young running back in the draft, that it would not be enough to deter them from making such a move. Henry's market value to be a 2-year, $30 million deal That may be way off, but even at a fraction of that, the Cowboys aren't going to, basically pay 2 running backs $10+ million.
Yeah.
Then they'd be just back where they were with the Zeke thing.
Yeah.
Because Tony Pollard's going to make $10+ million on the franchise tag this year too.
But you can't tell me that it's not intriguing to you, right?
That's
you know
what
I'm
basically,
saying?
Bill Barnwell brings up. I guess, it's a sexy move potentially by the Cowboys.
And it's a thought that you be crazy not to look at, and that's the whole thing about it. And that's why it goes back to this Lamar Jackson deal. For people to say that they're not interested is ludicrous. Like, you should be looking at this young man that way. And Derrick Henry, even though he's on that back end of his career and dealing with injuries throughout it here lately, you still need to kick the tires to see what's going on with the young man. Now, obviously, you're not going to pick up that big old contract, but you can make some things happen, and that would automatically eliminate Zeke from coming back to the Dallas Cowboys. Remember, we've had that conversation. People have been talking about the Dallas Cowboys and possibly bringing Zeke back. That would pretty much eliminate Zeke from coming back to the conversation, to the Cowboys.
Take the better running back from that draft.
That's what it ended up being, right? At least he won some rushing
no one knew
titles.
Derrick Henry was going to be what Derrick Henry was. I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think, you're not going to pay Derrick Henry that much and also I'm not sure Derrick Henry, I don't know if there's a lot of places he could go and still do what he does with Tennessee, where he is the guy, but he may not want to be thrilled of, hey, by the way, down the stretch of the season, we're going to try and feature Tony Pollard a lot more. We're going to want you more in,
Short
passing
yardage
situations and stuff like that. We're going to cut your runs down a ton. He may try and go somewhere else where that they still will use him in that sense. Like if he goes like Tampa Bay, where it's not as good of a place, but they don't have anybody else. And he can go run the ball plenty more because they won't have a quarterback either or anything else. He can go run the ball. He may want to do that. But, I just draft a running back.
Just draft a running back.
We can't say Ronald Jones is the guy either. I get he's only 25 years old. But
he's from Dallas, too, by the way.
He had one really big season in 2020. Then it was downhill the year after that. And then he didn't barely found the field last year. Like, you have to get another guy in there. And you have to get a guy because you don't know if you want to pay Tony Pollard.
Yep.
No, you don't want to pay Tony Pollard. I think that's a big part of why they're going to draft a running back. Just depends on how they draft the running back. But this Bill Barnwell, at least this hypothesis, this thought experiment, more so than anything, it's just interesting to have the conversation. There's a lot of moving parts, though, a lot of things that got to happen. First of all, they're looking for a trade partner, and the assumption is nobody wants to trade for Derrick Henry.
Nope.
And if nobody wants to trade for him, then they cut him. That's the second part of this. They cut him, and then the Cowboys would have to post-draft after we're assuming they draft a running back, and then that running back room is pretty packed, then make a financial decision on Derrick Henry. And then, as Patrick pointed out, he would have to agree to go to the Cowboys with a diminished pretty much role there because he knows Tony Pollard's at least going to be splitting time there. So I think we're
but
far
that might
away from
save him, though. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree with it because I think Derrick Henry, the thing that set him apart with the Titans, and I agree with Patrick, he was very specific to their blueprint to win, which is bully ball.
Yep.
But late in the season, when everybody was hurt and injured, weather started getting bad, so it's tougher to throw the ball. Man, that's when bully ball would peak at the perfect time, playoff time.
Yep.
And if you're the Cowboys, it'd be interesting that, you could try to, shoulder the load for Derrick Henry with Tony Pollard, of course, when he comes back healthy. And then maybe you got a fresher Tony Pollard and you got a version of bully ball heading into the playoffs if you could pull a move like that. I'm not saying they can. Like I said, a lot of things got to happen. But for the Cowboys to do that, I agree with Patrick. Go back, just draft a running back. Just draft a running back. And
there's a lot of them that are out there. There's a lot of talented ones that are out there.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the deepest running back drafts we've ever seen. I mean, it is, like I said, it's one of those running back drafts, in my opinion, that I think I'm not saying it's going to be historic or anything, but I think you'll get multiple starters in middle rounds of this draft at the running back position. So Pro Football Focus has their draft simulator, and they do different simulations of the draft over and over again. And so they basically published they put out on their website the projections from their draft simulator for every team. And I thought it was pretty interesting because remember I've been talking about how if you look at, I went to Pro Football Network. They have one of these draft simulators.
Okay.
And in the last week, over 15% of their draft simulations had the Cowboys drafting Bijan Robinson more than any other player. They had them drafting Bijan. And I believe Bet Online for Bijan Robinson's draft odds, the Cowboys were at the top of that list. Everybody loves the Cowboys and Bijan right now.
I mean, it's clickbait, I think. I think they setting us up, man.
It could be clickbait. It could be setting you up. But here's another one then. Sorry, this might hurt your feelings too then, Harge. All right, so Pro Football Focus has their draft simulator. And I'll get to the Texans here. I want to go to the Cowboys first. So we're talking about the Cowboys. At number 26 for the Dallas Cowboys, based on Pro Football Focus draft simulator, they have 21.1% of the time their top choice is Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson.
So
that should be everybody's top choice.
It's Pro Football Network, Bet Online. I mean, Pro Football Focus. Everybody's got the Cowboys. If Bijan is there, taking the Cowboys taking Bijan. And I will say it was yesterday. Oh, actually, it was last week. Dane Brugler. He finally decided, you know what? If Bijan drops to the Cowboys, he went out on a limb and said, Cowboys, they must draft Bijan Robinson, even though I don't believe in drafting running backs in the first round. That is the bottom of the first round. And even you go look at, I think Brian Broaddus also jumped on that bandwagon. So, Harge, you agree? I think Patrick agrees.
He's the hottest in the game. I said it. I mean, it was one of those situations where before I was like, if he falls to the Dallas Cowboys in that position, the Cowboys would be crazy to not take him. It wouldn't make sense. You have to do it because they are the one team that always talks about we're going with our board and whoever's the best available player on our board, that has to be it. If he's there sitting at that position and he is right in your face, that eliminates all the other nonsense that we've been talking about with Zeke Elliott, Derrick Henry, and any other running back because now it's a new rookie clock.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you even look at anyone else?
Yeah, I think the big question for Bijan in this draft, and if you want to get him as a Cowboys, is what pick do you think he makes it to? And can you get above that pick and not go too high? You don't want to pay a price to go to 12 or 13 or 14, and you could have taken him 10 picks later. But I don't think he makes it past 21. Let me put this: I don't think he makes it past the Chargers pick.
Yep.
Because the Chargers have a angry running back who wants to get paid. I don't think they want to pay him, and they can go get a guy like Bijan and just replace Austin Eckler, try and trade him off,
start a union, man,
for a pick, and just be like, all right, we're not going to pay Austin Eckler when we reset the clock on that guy. Kellen Moore can use him the way he likes to use running backs in the passing game and other places. He wouldn't have to. I feel like that's more. That I don't think he falls past that.
At 21, the Pro Football Focus Draft Simulator, Patrick has Bijan Robinson as the second most popular selection or best odds to draft Bijan at 10.6%. They got Zay Flowers at number 1 for the Chargers, but I think you're right. I don't think the Chargers will let him get past them at 21.
So
you're going to have to trade up into the top 20 to get Bijan.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no question about it. The question is, like Patrick said, who do you think is interested in trading out of the top 20 with you to help you get Bijan? Seattle might do it because Seattle's got 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
So Seattle might be interested, and they're right there at 20. But maybe that's not high enough secure him.
And it also depends on what we see runs of and what teams need in that position. So, like, Seattle is in a place where they may want to draft a quarterback high because they have Geno Smith, but they have him on a favorable contract. But if all 4 major quarterbacks are gone in the first 5 picks, and they don't get their guy, do they now say, let's move back and take some other guys? We don't necessarily need to take the top guy anymore. You may be able to get that pick a little bit easier than if they have a quarterback sitting there at that point. They may go ahead and take them.
Unfortunately, I don't see the Cowboys trading up to get Bijan. They should.
I don't either, but
I don't see. I think the Buffalo Bills should as well.
I think they should. Right, I don't see them doing it either.
Now there's no reason for them not to do it. The Cowboys, they could justify it because they could say we get a running back in a later round, in the middle round, and they really could get a start. They can get a Kendre Miller. They can get there's Rojo out there. I mean, we can go on and on. Man, the list of running backs out there is, I mean, it is one of the deepest running back drafts we've seen in a really, really long time. So I can see the Cowboys potentially saying, no, we like other running backs other than Bijan at that. And we just let Zeke go, drafted a running back high. We don't want to do it again. I get it, even though it's a different situation. He's out of the lottery of that pick. But I think, yeah, you got to trade into the top 15 to guarantee you're going to get Bijan. But if not, if you go into the top 20, there's a good chance, because there's a few teams that could potentially get him. And in I guess we can go to Todd McShay's mock draft and where they have Bijan. Todd McShay's latest mock draft, he's got Bijan going to the Lions.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's got Bijan going to the Lions in Todd McShay's latest mock draft at 18.
Way to go,
So you got
Dan Campbell.
Goes back to our theory, though. Got to get into the top 20 to go get Bijan.
Yep.
And if you want to secure him, to guarantee him, I think you got to get even higher than
You got to be aggressive.
the late teens. You probably need to get closer to the 15, somewhere around there. But man, Lions a top 5 offense.
Yeah.
Getting Bijan.
And I'll say this about the Bills though, of why also you don't want Bijan to go there. The Bills have taken a running back in 2019, 2020, and 2022, and they don't use any of them. They took Devin Singletary, they took Zach Moss, and they just took James Cook last year.
Didn't Singletary leave too?
Singletary left, but they don't play any of them.
Yeah,
like they don't really use any of them.
I don't know what's going on.
So that's why I say you don't necessarily want him to go there either, because they don't use a running back.
It doesn't matter if
you have one or not.
I don't want for Bijan. I don't want it, but for Buffalo, oh man, if they got him.
Yeah,
it would make them
if they
pretty
use
close to indefensible.
If they use him,
they would have to use him.
You say that
he's better than all the running backs they've gotten. They haven't gotten a generational running back like him.
I get that.
This guy's better than Saquon and as good as Christian McCaffrey. That kind of stuff.
You say that like you don't know how coaches are, and some coaches are very stubborn.
I know. If I'm Josh Allen, I start checking some plays. You know,
right, calling my own thing.
Give it to Bijan, exactly. But there you go. So Bijan Robinson. Oh, and by the way, Texans. Sorry, I meant to get to the Texans. I apologize, Texans fans. I'm apologizing to myself. The Pro Football Focus draft simulator has the Texans, first of all, with their second overall pick. It's got their top choices, Bryce Young. 40% basically of their mock drafts have them taking Bryce Young. And with their 12th pick, their second pick in the first round, it's got the Texans taking Jackson Smith-Njigba, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Oh, matter of fact, this is great sound. I'm glad we got a little time for this. Patrick, could you get the sound of Brian Hartline for us, please? Patrick, pulled the sound of Brian Hartline, the Ohio State wide receiver coach, who was on, I'll get the podcast here in a second for
Busting
you.
the Boys, I believe.
Was it really? Okay, thank you for that.
It was Busting the Boys.
Okay. And they were here in Texas not too long ago.
They were at UT.
Yeah, they were here in Texas not too long ago.
Somehow he got an interview, but it's hard for everybody else.
So it says, didn't Tom Herman not use Bijan? I agree. But hey, we're all thankful for that, because if Tom Herman used Bijan, he'd still be here.
Hello.
He'd have been here a little bit longer, and you wouldn't have Sark. So everybody's in a better place. He's at FAU now.
Yep.
Everybody's better off because he made a dang coaching mistake and didn't give the ball to the best running back in the country. But anyway, I digress. Here is Brian Hartline, the Ohio State wide receivers coach, when he was asked who are the best wide receivers that he's coached at Ohio State. And we know now, based on the wide receivers that have been drafted recently, Ohio State is basically at this point wide receiver U. They've taken the title, I think, from LSU, which still can probably brag about that as well. Here's Brian Hartline.
Top 3 wide receiver talents that you've coached.
Top 3 I've coached. I would say Marvin right now.
Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1.
NFL makeup, NFL prototype, right?
Yeah.
Marvin's that NFL prototype.
So you got Marvin 1.
Yeah, and then I think, you have to go Jackson, all right? Jackson. And the only reason why I feel very comfortable saying that is because Chris and Garrett chose him as well. Chris and Garrett, Garrett had a hell of a year, obviously, rookie of the year. You probably have to give him the nod just because of that then next. And then it's between Terry and Chris. One was the 11th overall pick and one makes $23 million a year. So it's kind of a coin flip. I would say that.
They love Terry up in Washington.
I know, and I got to say, I'd just say Terry right now because he's done it in the NFL for 3 or 4 plus years. That's worth its weight in gold on me.
Yeah.
A guy doing it 1 year is one thing. And Chris knows how much I love him, but you're talking about an elite group of dudes there. And I think that it's easy to do it once. Really hard to do it 2, 3, 4, 5 more years like that.
All right, there you go. Arguably the best wide receiver coach in the country. When he was asked to give his best receivers that he's coached, he said Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best right now. He's still on campus.
A lot of people have said that. Like he is a absolute freak, and just let's not forget who his daddy is.
Yeah, he get it from his daddy.
Yeah, he do. Strong.
And then he went with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Who a lot of people are projecting the Texans could go after Jackson Smith and Jigba. He may be the first wide receiver taken off the board. I'm a big fan. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is legit. And it is crazy that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave both in the NFL and already 1,000-yard seasons as young receivers have both stated that Jackson Smith and Jigba is better than them.
Right.
That's scary.
Right. They all said that. Yeah.
That's a scary thought right there.
Yeah.
So Texans, if they end up getting them, that would be great. Todd McShay's mock draft has the Texans drafting Bryce Young. He's got C.J. Stroud being taken by the Panthers first overall.
Man.
Which means he's changed his tune. He still says Bryce Young is his top quarterback, but he says he believes the Panthers are going to draft C.J. Stroud. Goes along with the Peter King report we got from earlier this week, where Peter King says his sources are telling him Frank Reich, he likes height. Like he just likes it. He wants a quarterback that is a little taller. He's always preferred that. That's been his preference. And that data point may push C.J. Stroud over the top in their evaluation, even though there are some in their front office and in ownership and management that prefer Bryce Young too. So if the Texans prefer Bryce Young, they may just get their guy.
They may get their guy.
But you might not.
I know.
Why would you
still worried about it?
Don't. Like I said, picking a quarterback is like picking a significant other. The woman you marry or man may not be the hottest person you ever dated, but they're the one that was most compatible with you. So if you're going after the woman or man you love, all right, why settle?
Fight for him.
All right? You need to go trade not all, but most of your picks, move up to number one, and go get the quarterback you think is the top quarterback. If you're saying, oh, no, we like both, and we'll just take whichever one they don't want. Really? That is the way you want to run your organization? Right. We'll take the leftovers, whatever they don't want? No. If you have evaluated Bryce Young, you believe him to be the top quarterback in the draft, and all of your data supports that, all of your scouts are pointing at that, go get that guy. All right? You need to fight for the quarterback you want, and Bryce Young, if that's that quarterback, go fight for him. Go trade for him. You got to. If you don't, I think it's going to end up biting you. It's going to end up coming back to bite you. I promise you as an organization it will. Because they won't get the quarterback they want. And for some reason, because it's the Texans and they're the fustercluck of an organization, whatever quarterback they get will be the quarterback that ends up being a bust. Because they're the Texans.
Because they drafted him at 12 instead of 2, because they drafted Will Anderson at 2.
Oh, that would, oh, man.
Well, they want to do that. So think about that.
If they do that.
That's what I was just about to ask you as a Texans fan and where you're looking at, and the reports are, what if they want to wait until next year's draft because the list is so long for the quarterbacks? I'm like, that makes zero sense.
There's one, list? Maybe two that are better than C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, right?
Like,
so we're like Caleb Williams and possibly if Drake May does it again. But Drake May's only got 1 year on him. So Caleb Williams is the only guy we can say for 2 years has shown that he is that guy.
That's crazy.
And you're going to give all up and hope you get that pick. But you better trade that second pick you have this year then.
For next year's
for a later first rounder, so you can get 3 first rounders still and trade up.
And then trade up to get that pick next year, and then pray to God whoever is getting that pick doesn't need a quarterback.
Right.
Because they need a quarterback, they're going to say, nah.
They will definitely need a quarterback because that's why they'll be in that position.
Like, I hate to break it to y'all, Tampa Bay is going to be bad next year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you take that chance? Now you have the draft capital. You got it. What are you saving it for? What are you going to save it to go draft a player who you may not even be on your team after their first contract? You may be a bust. No. Trade that pick for the quarterback you think is the future of your franchise. I'm telling you, that's the way you got to operate. If they settle for just whoever is, whoever the Panthers don't pick, I think it'll end up being a mistake. I don't know how they're going to screw it up, but they're going to screw it up somehow.
It seems like they're already trending towards that.
They're going to trade for the number 1 and still take Will Anderson.
Now, they do that. That would be amazing. Oh, you know what? I would. You know what? If they do that, I renounce my fandom.
All right.
I want to find the line. Yeah. No, if they do. If they trade up to number 1 and still draft Will Anderson, I'll renounce my fandom. I'm done. I'm done being a Texans fan. I will officially switch over to Cowboys fandom. Officially.
What?
Yeah.
Well, hey, welcome.
Exactly. I'd
Welcome.
officially switch over. That's how upset I would be over that.
Yeah.
There you go. You got it on the record here. I hope it doesn't happen either.
I hear
But if
you.
it
I hope it
does,
don't either. That is
I
terrible.
want to be exactly. And then I'd be a Cowboys. And I regret that every day of my life. But I still have to do it because I'm a man of my word. I don't want to renege. I want to be a renegger.
Don't do that.
Renegger, please. All right, we'll come right back. We'll get into Sark's audio from the media availability. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Raj Rant of the Day. I want to get into some of Sark's audio. We'll get, if we don't get all of it here or the rest of it, we'll get to some more of it in the top of the 6 o'clock and talk some more Texas spring football. But he got into some individual conversations, or at least he was asked some individual questions about players. And really, I thought it was some great comments about individual players, how they're doing in the spring, and about the position groups. First cut we're going to play for you is about David Benda. We've been talking about David Benda and how a lot of the insider sites have been given reports that David Benda is not only pushing for a starting job opposite Jalen Ford at that off-ball linebacker position, but right now he's one of the most consistent players in the spring. So Sark was asked about David Benda coming out of nowhere. I mean, this guy is a senior, and I think most people believe the coaches had recruited past him already. I think they thought they had too. But David Benda making some noise in spring. Here's what Sark had to say.
Well, I think David's had a good spring, but I think it started for David in winter, right? I think he had a good winter conditioning. I thought he was very intentional in his approach, not only from a physical standpoint in the conditioning aspect of it all, but also in getting with Coach Choate and digesting the scheme and what it looked like and how we wanted him to play. and is showing up. He's playing good football for us. Probably the best version of David Benda that we've seen to go along with a Keaton Crawford. I think this is the best version of Keaton Crawford. He's still doing what he's always done on special teams. He blocked a field goal Saturday, which is what we always expect of him, is the special team stuff. But what he's doing in the secondary now is very comforting to know that a guy can grow into that position. And the beauty of it is, with those guys, they've earned their opportunities. Then now they're getting their opportunities, and they can be a model for a younger player who, living in this world of instant gratification of they show up and why aren't they starting now? Well, here's two prime examples of guys that have grown into a role and have worked at it to now contribute to the team. And so, hey, again, we're very appreciative of it because we invest a lot in our players, from the moment they arrive. And so when they stick it out 1 year, 2 years, 3 years now in their case, and now they can reap the benefits of the work they've put in, the investment we've made in them in all capacities of life, I think it's a win for everybody.
And so it's not just, right now, not just the insider sites that are talking about David Benda playing well. Sark's talking about him playing well, too. It's just we don't see these types of stories very often where a guy really doesn't have an impact as a player, as a starter, really, on the roster, and has been recruited over, and then out of nowhere, especially in the transfer portal era, for a guy to right now be competing for starting reps. So good for David Benda. Also means that Texas has a lot more depth than they anticipated at that off-ball linebacker. And once again, Harch, unsolicited, he brings up Keaton Crawford. He loves some Keaton Crawford this cycle, too, of spring football, and keeps talking about how he's made a big impact with Jaden Calalon being out with that shoulder injury.
All you need is an opportunity, right? And when the opportunity comes there and you've been in the program, you know what's expected. And not to be lost in the conversation is the fact that these guys are now around a defensive coordinator for multiple years with the same voice, same game plan. Now everything is like second nature to you. Where before they were bringing in a different guy every year, and all these young players were having to learn new schemes every single year. I don't think that's something that is talked about enough, the continuity of the team and the coaching staff and understanding what's expected from everyone.
Yep, totally agree with you about that. And maybe that's why we're starting to see some of these older guys for the light seems to be going off for him. Let's get into running backs. He was asked about the running backs and how that young running back room has been doing so far this spring, especially with some injuries here or there. Here's Sark commenting about the Texas running back so far.
I thought Jaden Blue had a nice scrimmage, made some plays, especially kind of on the perimeter. He's a very explosive athlete. I thought Savion Red, from a position change standpoint, shows physicality that is really encouraging. Savion has obviously played receiver a year ago, and we know he's gifted as a receiver, but to really start running between the tackles, which is kind of what he did in high school, is kind of a wildcat quarterback. That's been encouraging. And I thought for Ced, Baxter was good for him. His first couple plays were not plays that he's going to always, say those were my best plays at Texas. He kind of struggled early on, but then settled in and made some plays as the scrimmage went on. So Friday, when we get back out there again in the same similar format, is going to be big for him to take that step of, okay, now I'm comfortable with what we're doing, and then start to see more of him of what he's capable of doing.
There you go, talking about the running backs. I do wonder, though, because, last year Texas, and I'm glad they did because I wholeheartedly endorsed it and advocated for it. They played a lot of two tailback sets, more than they had played at any time I've been watching Texas, and it was just smart on Sark's part to play so much two tailback sets, 20 personnel, 2 backs, 0 tight ends, 2 backs, 1 tight end, so 21 personnel. It was around 16% multi-back sets, and they went 21 personnel a little over 11% of the time. Now, when you got a Rojo and a Bijan, 2 NFL running backs in your backfield, who both are elite at breaking tackles, arguably 2 of the best, tackle-breaking running backs that we've seen in college football in the last 5 years, it makes sense to put those guys on the field at the same time as much as you can. That's part of your best 11 guys on offense. This year, though, I wonder if we'll see a shift because a lot of unproven commodities in your backfield. All your proven commodities and your high-level playmakers are at tight end with J.T. Sanders, at wide receiver with X-Man and with Jay Witt. Hell, even with, Jonte Cook and the young wideouts they brought in. So the passing game, in my opinion, is going to be more lethal this year than the running game like it was last year with Bijan and Rojo. And I wonder if you'll see more 11 personnel, which is one back, one tight end, and fewer two tailback sets, and maybe even fewer original 12 personnel, which is one back, two tight ends, because there's such a significant drop-off between J.T. Sanders and who your backup tight end is. And we'll get to that because actually Sark disagrees with that. Sark likes his backup tight ends. I don't like his backup tight ends. He likes them. Now, last year, they played a lot of 12 personnel. They actually played, if you look at original 12, there's one back, two tight ends. Around 26% of their reps were out of 12 personnel. But remember, they used Big 12 package, the 6 O-line package charge, and that was around a little over 15% of the reps were the Big O-line package. I envision this year, with the drop-off at tight end, in my opinion, being so seismic, if you will, I think they will play more Big 12 package, because where are you deep? On the O-line.
Right.
You got a lot of O-linemen. You want to get out there and get them some reps. I think you'll go more 6 O-line package. I think you'll go more 11 personnel, one back, one tight ends, and I think you'll see fewer multi-back sets, two tailback sets, and fewer original 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, because you'll try to focus and streamline everything around your proven commodities and your best playmakers.
You got to.
Yeah. And last year you played more 12 because, well, hell not. Why not add an extra blocker for Bijan Robinson and Rojo?
Exactly.
That's why they did it.
And they did a lot of, like you've always talked about this, they did a lot of masking of some of the deficiencies that was on that offensive line, which is why you had to go to a 6 offensive lineman package.
That's fair, too.
You know what I'm saying? So there were some things that were glaring in the preparations for it, and now they're really going to have to be able to step up because of the fact there is no Bijan, there is no Rojo, and they made people miss and hid a lot of what you were doing. So this is a big year for this offensive line. Even though they've provided depth and they've gotten better, they had that year underneath them. And they, too, are now listening to the same voice for multiple years, so they should be step and lock moving forward.
Yeah, I'm with you. Big year for the offensive line because I did not see enough of what they could do, or at least what the identity could be, post Bijan and Rojo in the bowl game. As a matter of fact, it makes me a little anxious thinking about the bowl game against Washington, because you took away Rojo and Bijan and your running game was non-existent.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just because of personnel. The lack of creativity on Sark's part was also a bit mind-blowing. I mean, I could not believe that he went out there and just assumed without Bijan and Rojo he could run the same offensive rushing concepts that he ran with those guys. That was... frustrating to say the least. Okay, a couple of more cuts here from Sark. He was asked about the edge rushers as well, and that's been a big topic of discussion. We know the interior D-line is really deep, but the edge rushers, opposite Barron Sorrell, there's been a lot of topic about who can end up filling that void. Here is Sark on edge rushers and their impact in the spring.
Well, I mean, I think that's a... I don't like to temper anything. You know, ultimately our job is to beat the best teams that we play on our schedule, and ultimately put ourselves in position to compete for a championship. And if you're in that role, they probably got good tackles too. And so I do measure it against what does it look like when they go against those guys. And so, you know, whether it's a Barron Sorrell, whether it's an Ethan Burke, whether it's a Jamon Tapp, a Justice Finkley, a Colton Vosick, whether it's when we can get some of the linebackers to the edge and what they can do. I think ultimately we do measure it against those guys, and I do think they're all improving and growing. But I do think our defensive staff has done a nice job of putting some new wrinkles in to create opportunities and create some one-on-one rushes, and guys can kind of show what they can do. And so hopefully our youth can continue to grow into where we need them, whether, like I said, whether it's a Chris Ross, a Jamon Tapp, a Burke, a Vosick. Those guys are all talented players. And how far can they take it? That's what we have to find out here throughout the rest of spring, summer, and then fall camp.
Yeah, the edge position is important because I think in this defense, now you got to give Pete Kwiatkowski and the defensive staff a ton of credit for the turnaround. It's one of the greatest turnarounds in Texas football history on the defensive side of the ball from 2021 to 2022. And they went from being one of the worst teams, actually one of the bottom 10 worst teams in the country at applying pressure to the opposing quarterback in 2021 to being number 2 in college football in pressures in 2022. Just astounding, just phenomenal. They had 277 pressures, great number. Only Clemson had more with 287 pressures on the defensive line. But Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but is, yes, amen. Texas only had 27 sacks. If you look at the top 10 teams in applying pressure last year with the most pressures, only Texas and North Carolina State are teams in the top 10 with fewer than 30 sacks among the top 10 leaders or team leaders in overall pressures. So they were Texas was a 9.7% conversion rate, turning pressures into sacks. And that was the second lowest among that group. That is the defensive ends a lot of the times. The guys that collapse the pocket oftentimes are the interior D-line. It's much tougher for those guys at times to end up getting sacked because quarterbacks, and a lot of them escape from the pocket.
You got to be able to move in the pocket,
and
pocket awareness.
Exactly. When they move in the pocket, a lot of them are trying to escape, all right, from the outside. Well, when they escape, the defensive end is supposed to be there. Right, to force them back inside. And last year, oftentimes, that element wasn't there enough. Barron Sorrell did a great job, but still, it wasn't there consistently enough where they could then totally collapse the pocket. I think they would, the defensive interior D lineman would obstruct the pocket. Basically, they would end up penetrating the pocket, but still you need the defensive ends to totally collapse it to do their part. That's what you need this year, and hopefully they can get it from Justice Finkley or Ethan Burke, and Colton Vossik's another one of those guys too. So a lot expected from the defensive ends this year, rather than just applying pressure. Texas needs to cash in on some of those pressures.
Yeah, not just apply, bust them up.
You got and the quarterback must go down.
And must go down hard.
Yeah, must go down often and early.
There it is.
All right, we'll come back. We'll get into a little off the record on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie. I want to put down the horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That means my man Patrick always playing jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And I'm not sure who this is, actually.
Shania Twain. No.
Ooh.
What's the other one?
What you got, Hart?
And it's not anybody. It's not. This is. I think they're a one-hit wonder.
I'll say Hart was confident in
is
that
it?
one, too.
It is Alana Miles.
Wait, what?
That is who does Black Velvet.
Alana Myers?
Miles.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I
who it
wouldn't have
is.
got that one either.
I wouldn't have got that one. Hart looks sad, too. Like,
I
he
said,
was,
like, oh,
he was
almost
like
had it.
really excited.
No,
and
you just
hoping
thought it was the wrong lady all this time.
I was like, I did. All this time,
You just-
100%.
You really did burst Hart's bubble.
I was like, wait, what?
I hope people on Twitch enjoyed that because he was the reaction.
Because I was like,
was genuine. He
Oh,
was
I know.
really sad.
Oh, man, I
He
guess
was
I
really
was
sad
wrong.
about. Are you a Shania Twain fan randomly?
I mean, she is kind of all right.
Okay. Oh well,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. Well, she's fine.
Yeah,
I'm just
that-
saying,
that was-
I didn't know you were a fan of Shania
I don't
Twain's
listen that
music.
much. most of the time, I'm just looking.
Well, apparently he
Window
thinks a bunch
shopping.
of other songs are hers. So who knows now?
that's hers.
Yeah, apparently. He's
There's
a
no
fan.
telling.
He's a fan because he got them mixed up with a whole bunch of other artists. Oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Oh, man, that's good stuff. All right, you can always hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. My man Harge at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse, and Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. Real quick story about our great city, our awesome city here, city of Austin. I was reading an article about Austin talking about the job market. Apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, Austin has the second strongest job market right now in the country.
Say what?
We agree or disagree with this? They said Nashville is number one.
I mean, if everybody's going to come in here and be singers.
The strongest. Well, actually, it's not as strong of a market for the music industry as it used to be. Prior to COVID. Now it's recovering, I think.
And it is in certain senses. So the industry part of it. So like there's more like the fact that CMT awards were just here
That's
and all
just
that.
big, yeah.
Like so there's a lot more industry here now because they found like people move from other places and people move from LA here. So there's more of that. But musically, the smaller side of it is a little different because now you're competing with all these other people that are just like, oh, we'll just do this.
It's
We'll
a
just
corporate feel to it.
Yeah,
That's
and you're like,
corporate,
man, what happened to our town, man?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Yeah, but it's what they say. I mean, obviously, I think, yeah, if you're a musician, I think it's a little bit different for you. But if you're just a regular old jabroni out there, all right, like the rest of us looking for a job, they say Austin number two behind Nashville, which is the number one strongest job market in the country. Jacksonville's number 3, Dallas number 4. So you got Texas got 2 other 4.
Jacksonville is number 3?
I'm just telling you what the Wall Street Journal said. I wouldn't go to Jacksonville looking
I'm
for
like,
a job.
wait, what?
I'll tell you that right now. That would not be one of my top spots. But I went to Raleigh, North Carolina. Atlanta, number 6. Orlando, 7. Charlotte, 8. Salt Lake City, 9. And Miami is 10.
Interesting.
Yeah. So strongest job markets. Denver is 11. Tampa, Florida is 12, if you want to know that. But
I would think Denver would be higher.
I know Denver
up
would be
there.
higher, too. Jacksonville shocked me.
That
actually.
really threw me off
If
when
any
you
of
said
them were
that,
shocking,
man.
it would be Jacksonville. Also, good news for Austinites. Austin ranks number 1 on the best U.S. housing markets for growth and stability. There you
I
go.
can see that for the stability.
Yeah,
because
for-
when you get here, you don't want to leave. You know what I'm saying? When you get
That
to
is
Austin,
true.
you don't want to leave the Austin area.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. According to a new study, 12 of the top 20 U.S. cities that ranked as the best housing markets for growth and stability were in Texas. 6 Texas cities made the top 10. So Smart Asset, I believe, compared the home value data for 400 metropolitan areas and decided look at this, Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown Metro.
Yeah.
Man, isn't that crazy? I remember when
Where
I
was
left
Pflugerville
Houston
at? Where
and
was the Ville
H-Town,
at?
yeah, I'm assuming they throw it in there.
They got to be in there with Round
But
Rock.
Greater Houston's like that too. Where
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, well, goodness
everybody's
gracious.
including Greater Houston. They're like
Yeah.
people from Galveston, like Galveston is a great Galveston. Yeah, Galveston's great. Everybody's great. So now Greater Austin, essentially Austin Metro, Austin Round Rock Georgetown Metro area ranks
Yeah.
number 1. So I guess you throw all that in there.
I got you.
There you go. So if you there you go.
Somebody said Jacksonville got more popular after Urban Meyer left. Longhorn Bear said that.
Well said.
Yeah,
Well done. Well done. I like that. That's pretty good. All right, we come back. We'll get into, we'll play the rest of that Sark media availability sound, and we'll talk about Quinn Ewers' development a little bit, and then we'll jump back into the national title game. We got to talk UConn, win the national title, but also the First Lady, she got involved in the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese controversy. And, they had to backpedal on that. She had to walk it back just a little bit. We knew it would get political. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Top of the Charts Tuesday. We don't get a lot of hip-hop on Top of the Charts Tuesday because obviously hip-hop hadn't been around for, 45, 50 years, something like that. So my man Patrick goes way, way back on Top of the Charts Tuesday. Jams he plays that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. But every now and then we get a little hip-hop, and this was a classic.
This is also some of the
Classic.
earlier hip hop you get, and that hit the top of the charts.
It did because it's one of P. Diddy's first jams, first
like
big
real,
hits.
real one.
Yeah, with
Because
him
a
and
lot of
Mace.
that earlier stuff didn't get to number one on the
Yeah,
charts.
it was popular, but didn't get to number
Yeah,
one on
so
the
the
Billboard
stuff that
charts.
is now is like 2010, 20.
Yeah.
You know,
And
this is
remember,
97.
The brilliance of P. Diddy was
97.
P. Diddy engineered all of his songs to hit the Billboard charts and to top them. That's why he used all the samples. People
Yep.
always criticize, like, why do you sample so much? You're using all these old songs. People know. He's like, no, that's nostalgia. I need the nostalgia. He said, because hip hop is new. So when people hear that old
Right.
beat, they go, oh, man, I remember that old school beat. And then they hear us lay it down the track, and they go, oh, man, I love it. And they can't figure out why they love it so much. It's nostalgia, baby.
Exactly.
Samples.
Samples.
It was brilliant. He sampled. He made it an art form to sample, and hip hop obviously has sampled a ton, but he made an art form, and I remember that. And he was all about. He wanted to, because remember, gangster rap kind of took over hip hop. It still has obviously heavily influenced hip hop, but he wanted to bring it back to being a club.
Oh yeah, he wanted
A club
bangers
genre, yeah,
where
he
people
wanted-
would be
yeah.
dancing the
He-
whole time.
yes.
That's why Suge said, "You want people dancing in the videos? Come to Death Row."
That's exactly right. It was.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was.
The executive producer dancing in the video.
Yeah, no, P. Diddy, man, he did the
Yeah.
damn thing. And Mace, I was a big Mace fan back in the day. Mace has found the Lord since, and I think Mace does Christian rap now.
I know
I'm not-
he jumps back into the water though.
Does he? Does
Oh,
he
yeah.
jump back in the
Oh,
water?
yeah.
Can you jump back in? Can you go?
Oh, you all the way in.
Can you go Christian rap and then jump back into like the gangster rap?
When the streets
realm?
be calling you, man, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that must mean the Christian rap to make enough money.
That's
Couldn't pay the bills.
The
Huh?
samples wasn't the same, right?
Christian rap does not bang the same. I want
No,
to admit that.
does not.
It don't hit the same. But that's okay. So anyway, my man Patrick always doing a great job on a Top of the Charts Tuesday. We appreciate his efforts as always. All right, we're gonna talk some in national title here. We'll talk about UConn winning their national title and also get into the latest in the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese controversy because the First Lady has weighed in. Yes, she had something to say
Yes,
about
she
it.
did.
And I told you guys yesterday it was going to get political. I just
did.
predicted it'd be Trump. It wasn't Trump. And I'll admit, President Trump's got a lot going on
He
right
was
now.
busy.
He get a little busy.
He was
when
busy.
he's done with some of this stuff, he may decide
He
he
may
wants
definitely
to
throw
make a
something out there.
comment. But it wasn't that political slant. Ends up being the First Lady who turned it into a kind of a political. Political card, if you will. Tried to play that political card, some are saying. But I think more so she just got kind of caught up in the moment, and I think America did. We got some numbers to back that up as well. But let's talk first about, first of all, before we get to that, sidebar. I wanted to find this story, and I finally did. Remember I told you that Greg Norman, who's not going to be attending the Masters. He's not attending the Masters, but he's going to have, I think, 18 live golfers representing the live tour at the Masters. They're having their Masters dinner, so it's only a few Masters winners or former Masters winners who are also invited to dinners who also joined the live tour, so not many of those guys.
Yep.
But I did see the story. Greg Norman said that if a member of the live tour wins, he wants them to celebrate on the 18th green.
He's doing
together.
too much.
He wants them to go straight up NWO. He said, quote, if one of them wins, then the other 17 will hang out around and be there to congratulate him around the 18th green. Could you imagine what a scene that would be? All these players hugging the winner. You only see things like that in the Ryder Cup, although it's happening in our events more and more. So I don't know if he's saying he's planning this if they win,
Yep.
but that would be a straight up NWO type. That's like standing on the opposing team's like mascot or something at midfield. Or
Going to
something like that.
midfield like T.O. did.
Yeah, like that. No, man. We live taking over the Masters, baby.
Exactly.
It's a live takeover of the Masters.
The Masters would throw all of them out because
Is
of
that
where they're
like
going.
Dancing on the Star?
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying,
right?
yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you. I think this live tour could be this live tour kind of headline now with the Masters and the actual angst, the real live angst that exists and between the players on the PGA and these live players. I think it could end up honestly could replicate some of what we just watched with the women's national title game.
Yep.
I mean, that's the truth of it. And we'll get to those ratings, but that was one of the highest rated sporting events ever.
It
Like,
was
really-
up 103% from last year.
Well, yeah. I mean,
103.
So I'll give you all the comparisons, but that was one of the highest rated sporting events ever. And it was because they had a lot of storylines and they had some really dynamic personalities, and people tuned in to see the villain, all right, the protagonist, the antagonist going against each other, and I think it ended up captivating the country. All right, so we'll get to that. We'll talk more Masters as the week goes on, but I thought that was a little funny story. Okay, let's get to UConn and winning their 5th national title. And Horace, what's the nugget that you gave us about how the state, the great state, is represented there?
4 out of the 5 national championships that they have won have been won in the state of Texas.
That is fantastic.
Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston twice.
I don't like how.
I know.
That is unbelievable.
I know.
And we found. What did you say, Patrick? When is the Final Four coming back to the state of Texas? What years?
2025 San Antonio, 2030 Arlington.
All right, there you go.
There you go. So
Get-
go
get
ahead and get your lotto tickets.
Get your futures ready. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
I don't know how that. And it's been multiple coaches too, right?
Yes.
I mean,
3
yeah,
coaches.
'cause- Yeah, we had Calhoun started off, and then Kevin Ollie came in 1-1, and then right now it's
Dan Hurley.
wow. And that to me. There's a lot of great stats about this UConn run. That might be to me the coolest stat.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm a Texan, so more than anything. All right, Howard, you want to give people a spoiler alert? real
Spoiler
quick?
alert, spoiler alert. We're in the bottom of the 7th, headed to the 8th. Oh, no, we're still in the bottom of the 7th. Texas fans, rejoice. Texas is up 7-1 over Air Force.
Yeah, they taking care of business.
They handling their business. We got multiple home runs in this game. 3 home runs have been hit.
Hey now.
And we're going to be able to continue starting a new streak. We're going to start a new streak heading into the weekend.
There you go. All right, we're gonna get into some more Texas football discussion next segment, but let's talk about UConn winning their 5th national title. So how about this? I love this stat to show how dominant UConn's run was. So UConn played 240 minutes in 6 tournament games and trailed for just 31 of 31 game time minutes. That's just 13%, and only 55 seconds of second half of games did they trail. I mean, it was probably one of the most dominant runs we've ever seen. You go look at just the margin of victory in their 6 games, 24, 15, 23, 28, 13, 17. That's a plus 120 point differential. I mean, I can't remember a run that's this dominant. And strangely enough, they were, 80-1 preseason odds to win the national title.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't even ranked.
They were not even ranked.
They weren't even ranked. And they finished the season 17-0 straight up, 16-1 against the spread versus teams outside the Big East. So if you saw UConn for the first time and you didn't have familiarity with that roster or with their game plan, I mean, they shell-shocked their opponents. And that's exactly what they did in March Madness. Teams that saw them for the first time in March Madness, they just could not handle UConn, man. It was a truly dominant performance by them.
And that's the funny thing about it when you sit here and remember we were talking about how the Big 12 was one of the best conferences out there. The record was telling you that, strength of schedule, all the metrics that you would look at to see which conference is tough. And then, boom, here you go. Big East team ends up winning it, and a team that was unranked at the beginning of the year. And then you didn't even have a Big East team, a Big 12 team in the Final Four. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy situation this year. And you were talking about it, too. You look at the basketball team and the championship that they just won. The Jonathan Hankins, number 24 for the UConn Huskies.
His name is Jonathan Hankins,
I mean,
too?
Jordan Hankins.
Oh,
Jordan
I was going to
Hankins.
say, Jonathan Hankins?
Yeah, Jordan Hankins.
Okay.
He is the cousin of Angel Reese.
That is a crazy story.
Yes, they are cousins from Baltimore.
You sent us that. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. They're about to be lit at the barbecue cookout.
Man, them genes in that family.
Man.
We need to do some research. Find out
And
they
he
got
was a baller, too.
They got some cousins.
Yeah.
Something coming up, man. That
No
is-
doubt.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
That is great. So I couldn't believe that, too. That's another really strange coincidence. Really cool story having to do with this UConn win. Also, and
He was a big part of their win yesterday, too.
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
No question about it. And we brought this up earlier. I mean, UConn's basically since '99, they've gone on the strangest, weirdest, honestly, championship run, if you will, because they've won 5 titles in that time span. So you're talking about 25 years and won 5 titles. They've only won 5 conference titles in that time span. I say only, but when you win 5 national titles, you'd think they'd have more conference titles in that time span, but only 5. They've missed a tournament 8 times.
Yeah.
7 times they didn't get out the first weekend, and they had 3 title games against a 5 seed or worse. It's just a really strange couple of decades for UConn, but every few years or so, you can depend on UConn making a run, and as you pointed out, Harge, it's probably going to be whenever they're in the state of Texas,
No doubt.
somehow. But that is amazing. A lot of people don't want to call them a blue blood because they don't have the antiquity and their tradition, right? It doesn't go back to the kind of the founding days of college basketball. But I like to call some of these, and we got a lot of these in college football too. They're not blue bloods, they're new bloods. You cannot strip somebody of their blue blood status. Don't do it because somebody might try to do it to you, Texas football. So you need to be on on my bandwagon, on the side of never stripping any institution or program of their blue blood status, because if somebody can be stripped of it, like a Nebraska football, Texas football can be in that conversation too. So don't even entertain that. So you keep your blue blood status, but you get new blood status for the newer blue bloods. And honestly, that's UConn. They're a new blood, man.
They are definitely a new blood, and they've been in the game for a minute now. So I'm looking at this team and was wondering where they have been, big time. When you start looking at, you talked about the Blue Bloods, you talk about North Carolina, you talk about Duke, you talk about UCLA. Some people still have Indiana in there because they won.
Kansas.
Kansas is one that you could definitely look at. And when you look at UConn, and if you're going to go strictly off of championships, you got to put them in there.
Got to put them
Yeah,
in
they're
there.
what? They're tied for like 4th now, something like that?
You
With
have
5?
to put them in there.
And then let's not forget, if we're just talking basketball, they got 11 women's titles.
That's that. You know what? You're right, and we are talking women's basketball these days.
Exactly.
So let's say
Exactly.
combined basketball championships at UConn
Ooh,
is
that's good.
16 titles.
That's a good point. Nobody's touching that.
No, I mean UCLA's up there
Used to be
because
there,
UCLA was so dominant for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a modern era, there is no one coming close to combined national championships, men's and women's, to UConn.
And they
That's
have
right.
multiple, on the women's side, they have multiple player of the years. Like every one of them that comes through there ends up going to the next level and dominating that too.
And it's
Going all the way back to Maya Moore.
Yeah. No, that's a
Swin
good point.
Cash.
I didn't think about that, but you're right, Patrick.
Rossi Bird.
Yeah, combining
Rebecca Lobo.
basketball programs. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. And now you put it like that, yes, they are definitely a new blood.
Yeah, so if we look at UCLA has 11, Kentucky has 8, North Carolina has 6, Duke has 5, Indiana has 5, UConn has 5
Yep.
for men's national championships.
So they have to be considered. I mean, if you
I
just
think
ran
they
down the list,
I think they are.
they've got 5.
Yeah, they got a better case than some of the old school blue bloods now too.
Exactly.
I'm with you on that. All right, let's get to this other story because this became a huge topic of conversation yesterday, of course, because we were talking about the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese controversy. For those who don't know, I'm sure by now you've heard about it, but Caitlin Clark, she became famous in the tournament because she was the best player, arguably, in the tournament. She broke all types of records for points scored and 3-pointers made in the tournament, and she had a celebratory gesture that she copied from John Cena, who copied it from Tony Yayo.
Hello.
G-Unit. And now they're saying that Flavor Flav actually may have been the genesis of it all. Have y'all heard this now?
Oh.
That Flavor Flav now, there's video of Flavor Flav, and he has some type of...
Oh, yeah, Flav has
You can't
always been
see me.
out there.
Remember, so Flavor
Oh,
had
yeah.
those kind of weird movements too. So now there's some people saying, no, Flavor Flav was the original. Tony Yayo took it from Flavor Flav, and took it, and then Cena took it from Yayo. I know, I agree. But most of y'all are like, what the hell are they talking about?
Exactly. We're talking about young kids now, so it's John Cena.
We're just trying to, yeah, exactly. It's the John Cena thing, but we're just trying to make sure we give props where it is due. But anyway, so it became a big topic of conversation when Angel Reese, she decided to taunt Caitlin Clark after LSU beat Iowa with her own gesture. And yes, she did kind of follow her around a little bit too. So yes, she was gratuitous in her taunting. More so than Caitlin Clark, but still, it was her own thing, and she just kind of threw it in her face. And she said afterwards, hey, man, she was disrespectful for a lot of other girls and a lot of ladies, and I was just, giving her a taste of her own medicine. I'm paraphrasing.
Yep.
And matter of fact, we have some sound of Caitlin Clark, actually. Recent sound of her on Outside the Lines, I believe it was.
She came in and
talking about Angel Reese, specifically talking about Angel Reese, the player, and the taunting incident, all that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, so the First Lady, she decided that she wanted to comment on the women's national championship game. And she said this on Monday. She said, I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So we hope LSU will come. But, I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game. There was clarity by her press secretary, First Lady's press secretary. This was happening earlier today on Twitter, clarifying that although Jill Biden admires what the women have done in Title IX and how great the title game was, her comments in Colorado were intended to applaud the historic game and all women athletes. She looks forward to celebrating the LSU Tigers on their championship win at the White House. President Biden also tweeted out that he's looking forward to welcoming the women's NCAA champions to the White House. No mention of Iowa at all. When Angel Reese saw the story via Twitter, she commented on all caps, a joke, followed by 3 rolling on the floor laughing emojis, because she obviously thought, oh man, this is a bunch of BS.
is this April Fool's?
They
still doing the April Fool's jokes?
It was not.
Yeah.
But she clarified.
She did.
That,
She
but,
did.
Her press secretary clarified. What are your thoughts, Arch? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't even been a discussion. You don't get I participated in the game trophy, so I deserve to go to the White House. No, it's for winners. What did Mac Brown say? Or Augie.
Augie said it.
Augie.
The world is a very different place for winners.
For winners. So
than it
you
is
don't
for
get to
losers.
you don't get to jump on my back and come with me. If you want to have a meeting with the Iowa players some other time, do that. Go there.
She should, yeah. She
Go
should
do
do that.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
But no. Don't steal the joy
Yeah.
from what Kim Mulkey wouldn't have let that happen. I don't know what is going on in here. I know Texas, y'all supposed to have more microphones than this. She was talking trash. Kim Mulkey ain't letting that happen.
No, she
dog.
wouldn't let that happen. And she's not soft-spoken. She's going to let you know exactly how she feels. But that was part of the allure of this game, right? This matchup between Iowa and between LSU. I applaud these ladies, man.
No
They've
doubt.
captivated America. Angel Reese, who was obviously the most outstanding player in the tournament, and of course Caitlin Clark, who was fantastic and broke all types of, and she's only a junior, and she's 1 year away from being draft eligible. I believe Angel Reese is just a sophomore. So we can see this play out.
Rematch.
Yeah, we can see this play out again, and I think we're all looking forward to it. So 9.9 million viewers for the women's championship game. You brought these numbers up yesterday, Harge, but now we got some comparisons to some of the other sporting events recently. So that 9.9 million viewers is more than last season's Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, or Cotton Bowls. It's more than the Big 12, Pac-12, and ACC title games.
Come on, man.
More viewers than Notre Dame, USC, LSU, Bama, Ohio State, Penn State, Bama, Texas A&M primetime on CBS. So how about this? Sunday's audience for the women's national title game exceeded every game of last year's NBA playoffs except for the NBA Finals, every game of last year's Major League Baseball postseason except for the World Series, every NASCAR race since 2017, including the Daytona 500, and every NHL game in more than 50 years. Yes, that includes your Stanley Cup Finals. These ladies did the damn thing.
They did do it.
Right?
They did do it on a Sunday
Come on.
afternoon.
Did the damn thing.
Was tuned in and was talking trash and loving every bit of it.
Man.
Loved every bit of that game.
I'm with, It was It was really. And by the way, it wasn't that competitive of a game. The
It
game,
really wasn't.
I was saying, there were portions
It
of it.
really
but
wasn't.
It really wasn't. LSU controlled and dominated that game for the most part. These are storylines that we're attracted to. America's watching this for the storylines. They're watching to see the interactions between the ladies and the trash talk and all this stuff going on. And like I said, that to me they have a storyline, whichever way you want to look at it. And yes, there's racism thrown in there, and there's sexism thrown in there, and there's some ageism thrown in there. All the things that captivate this country that I love.
Yep.
But as long as we can talk about them in a responsible way, it just all makes us better. We're better for that discourse. But Caitlin Clark was asked about this. We have this sound, Patrick, of on Outside the Line. So I think this is actually yesterday or today. She was asked about Angel Reese taunting her. All right. And, obviously throwing her own celebratory gesture in her face. I knew Caitlin Clark had that dog in her, and I knew I was a fan of her. Now I'm even a bigger fan. Here's Caitlin Clark on the Angel Reese situation.
One of the things people talk about is race as a component of this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. No matter which way it goes, she should never be criticized for what she did. I'm just one that competes, and she competed. So I think everybody knew there was going to be a little trash talk in the entire tournament. It's not just me and Angel. So, I don't think she should be criticized. Like I said, LSU deserves it. They played so well. And like I said, I'm a big fan of hers.
There you go.
See,
Big fan. Big fan.
Now people don't have nothing to talk about, Rob. Now people going to be mad. Like, man, wait, what? She ain't got no problem with it? She didn't have a problem with it. She said it on the podium. She said it during the walkthrough. Matter of fact, there were a couple players before the game. They dapped each other up in the hallway because they were fans of each other. But when you get out there and you compete, that's what it's all about, the competition. There's always trash talking. For those that always say, no, I never trash talk, you a lie. There was something that came out your mouth during a game, during a pitch, during a tackle, during a shot, during a swing, whatever. It always happens because you are a competitor. It's just natural. Because there's a bunch that happens, and I'm glad that she squashed it. I'm glad that she was the one who had the opportunity publicly now to say, man, get up. That's the last thing you need to be worrying about, man.
She said she likes this type of
exactly.
This type of play.
That's how I get it in.
This is the culture that she endorses.
Exactly.
She wants every women's basketball game to be this way. And if it was, the ratings would be through the roof.
And her dad made her play with boys growing up. Like her entire career growing up, before she had to play against other girls, she was playing with dudes. And you think there wasn't trash talk being talked?
And what I love about it, though, is for these ladies, because, usually when you have, women that are, breaking stereotypes like these ladies are doing, it can have a negative effect on their earning power, earning potential, things of that nature. Not the opposite is happening. The fact that these ladies are becoming, Angel Reese has become kind of a villain for some folks. Is kind of a villain and kind of embrace that. I think LSU really kind of embraces that, too, because Kim Mulkey does.
Yeah,
right?
that's who she is.
Their team reflects their leadership.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, man, I'm unapologetically who I am.
That's right.
If you don't like it, F you.
That's right.
That's what?
Keep it moving.
That's exactly. And I think her ladies have kind of taken on that personality. So Angel Reese now, how about this? Her agent says she's near 2 million combined followers on social media.
Advisor.
It says agent here.
Oh my gosh, she's got an agent.
It says her agent. But remember, think about every NIL rule is different depending on the state. So you can't hire agents.
That's true.
You just can't hire them in a capacity to represent you on a professional level.
That is true.
Just represent you in the NIL level.
That is true.
And so how about this? She says that Angel Reese now has a ton of endorsements where it says 17 NIL partnerships now. According to Sponsor United, the LSU store has 17 NIL deals now, which is the most in college basketball.
Just all of a sudden, boom, here they come.
Because she became like a villain. And how about this? She's got Wingstop. We got McDonald's, Coach. And
Coach.
I know, right? That's what I said, too. I said, that's wild.
Yeah.
And how about this? They're talking about a shoe deal. One agreement she has not signed yet is a sneaker deal. They said Adidas, I'm going to call it in the hood.
Hello.
Nike, Under Armour have not shied away from inking deals with high school players and college stars. It talks about how Haley Van Lyth, another trash-talking superstar in women's sports, she's got a Adidas contract. And just like Caitlin Clark signed back with Nike in October.
Yep.
So they already snatched her up. That's just smart. So they said the Jordan brand could be an option.
Michael's looking at the ones that are talking trash.
That I was like, and how about this? Mattel, her Bayou Barbie thing.
Oh yeah,
I think she's filed for a trademark. Reese and her team made the decision to trademark the nickname with the hope to sell it to Mattel and have them essentially make a Bayou Barbie.
You know that's gonna happen, and you know it's gonna be bought up like crazy.
And it tracks because you want these women. They are heroes to a lot of young girls who are out there playing these sports.
Yep.
And who want to be superstars like them. Oh, and Caitlin Clark has, I think, like $3 million in NIL deals already, so she's set.
Yeah, she's good. That's why she talks so much.
You know what?
You know what I'm saying?
I'd be talking that much too. If I was that good and I was earning that much cash, I'd be talking that much too. And I'll say this: a lesson can be learned from these ladies and the way they conducted themselves and the way that they were able to captivate a country because they have storyline. First of all, captivating dynamic personalities help. Mm-hmm. Had a texter on here bring up those polarizing personalities. They equal viewership. They do bring viewers to the screen. That's exactly what happened in this case. But also those storylines that transcend the sports page to the front page that now the first lady's got to comment on them. Those types of stories, those are the types of stories that are going to drive ratings. And I always say villains create conflict and conflict creates storylines. That both of these ladies are considered a villain depending on what side of the argument you're on, and both of them end up creating conflict either with each other or between us, sports fans, and then there goes your storylines. And that's when your ratings are going to go up. Yep. Golf, the Masters, it is right there waiting for you. You got live golfers, all right, who everybody hates, natural villains, the NWO of the golf world.
I love the comparison of the NWO because that is outstanding.
You got Phil Mickelson and all these guys who, Brooks Koepka and who were at one time, considered to be, stars in the PGA who've turned hero to heel.
Yep.
And nobody's better.
Bryson
DeChambeau. And nobody's better at creating storylines than wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling's been manufacturing storylines for decades and brilliant at it. Probably the best in it. All right. And whether you're talking about reality TV or you're talking about the best writers in Hollywood, wrestling creates storylines because they're really good at getting villains, identifying the villains to create conflict, and those villains create the storylines as well. And when they don't have a villain, what do? They create one.
Yep.
They take a Hollywood, they take a Hulk Hogan and turn him into Hollywood Hogan. They say, you know what? You got to go hero to heel. It's getting too boring. Let's switch it up.
Man, I've been telling kids to eat their vitamins.
Exactly.
How am I going to do that, brother?
And now, that's what you have now with Liv. You have all of these heroes who have not gone heel. Golf, take advantage of it. Yeah. And you got and pray that one of those Liv guys is in contention on that final day. If you got that and a big name PGA guy, more kind of like Rory, a guy who has openly shown disdain and angst for the Liv Tour, that's going to be the key, man.
That's why Rory needs to win a Masters so he can be in the meetings. Because he had one. He can't go to the dinner tonight.
Yeah, you're right. He can't. Okay, he's got people. He's got Tiger. Him and Tiger are close.
Oh, Tiger's gonna be
him
in.
And Tiger are texting. He's texting Tiger. Go over there and go be petty.
Yeah.
Go start some trash talk.
And he's snickering. You're right.
Go call him Fig Jam to his face. I love it. Man. It's great. It reminds me of the wrestling storylines from back in the day. All right, we come back. We'll play the last remaining cuts from the audio cuts from Sark's media availability when we come back right here on Ball Don't Lie 104.9 Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Top of the charts Tuesday. We play jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And, man, a little Destiny's Child for you. Well done. Well done. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I can't remember. Okay, now I'm trying to think of which version of Destiny's Child this is. This is still.
Oh, this is everybody.
Well, the originals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the original.
Yeah,
crew.
remember they changed up
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah.
All
I
right?
believe this is the original crew with Kelly,
Yeah.
Michelle, and Beyonce.
No, there's a four. There's four.
There's 4 of them.
There was 4 in the original. That was 3 in the
that's
exactly. They went through several reincarnations.
Toya. You talking about my girl Toya?
Toya, there you go.
Yeah.
Toya, yeah. I look at her. It's like, oh, Toya.
Oh, my girl Toya.
Toya was one of my favorites early on.
Yeah.
Yes, she was. But obviously, I'm a Kelly guy.
Oh, yeah, man. Tell us about that.
Nah, Santa. I'll just say, went to the same high school there, and we were friends. And I think we could have been more than friends, and I think I screwed that up. But it's okay.
Hey, man.
Hey, we all got to walk our own path.
I was finna say, man,
You know what I mean?
everything worked out the way it should.
Yes, it did.
You know what I'm
You're
saying?
damn right about
There
that.
it is,
Thank
bro.
you very much, brother.
Yes,
but
sir.
I did listen. She was not the killer you see on TV today. She was a little homely, all right, in high school. I saw the talent. Okay,
There it is.
I saw it. I saw the
See,
potential.
you always had an eye for scouting
Dude,
talent,
I
man.
saw it.
I knew
saw it
that
in the
about you, man.
hallways. Oh, I was like, oh yeah, she got
Yeah,
talent.
yeah.
Y'all don't see it? Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Trust me.
I like that, bro.
Anyway, let's get to some Sark cuts here. Hopefully, Sark's seen a lot of talent during spring football. He talked about the competition at corner. We talked about
Yes.
Gavin Holmes yesterday, who is stepping up at that field corner spot opposite of Ryan Watts. So here is Sark being asked about the competition at the cornerback spot.
I think we've got great competition at corner. I think at both spots. I think Terrence Brooks has really, kind of taken his game to another level. I think Gavin Holmes is performing at a high level. I think Ryan is doing what he's doing. I think Xavier Bryce is playing good football. We've been moving Austin Jordan around. Jade's a versatile player, so we're fortunate. I think that our coaches have done a good job kind of evaluating and recruiting that position. And again, I think competition's healthy for everybody. It usually brings out the best in you.
All right, let's start talking about competition. Speaking of competition, there's really no competition at tight end. JT Sanders is the guy. And what after JT Sanders, though? A lot of people are wondering. Here is Sark talking about the tight ends this year during the spring.
Yeah, I think Gunner, again, going into year 3, played a pretty substantial amount last year for us in combination with JT. I think Juan, the first, kind of 3 weeks of spring, has played his best football, has shown the best version of Juan Davis that we've seen. So, again, we have the addition of Spencer Shannon coming in the fall. So, again, as you work through it, you just want to be versatile enough. If you have to play with 2 tight ends, we can do it. If we're going to play with 1, we can do that. If we have to play with none, we can do that. And so that's constantly what we're working towards, so that everybody's comfortable in their role in the organization.
You know what I want to see? Because I do think there's issues with depth at tight end. Not depth. I think you have guys, but I don't think there's a precipitous drop-off in the caliber of tight end after JT Sanders. I would love to see a package with JT Sanders at tight end, 11 personnel package, 1 back, 1 tight end, JT Sanders at tight end, and either, I know it sounds crazy, Jay Witt or Savion Red at the running back position, and then your wide receivers are either X-Men, hell, you can put Jonte Cook out there, maybe you like Casey Kane, and essentially you have a package, you almost call it a NASCAR package, where you could go empty out of that, and you'd have a guy like Savion Red and or Jordan Whittington who could play both running back and wide receiver, and you could motion that guy out and make an empty set. Or, hell, man, if teams really want to defend your spread 4-wide package with JT Sanders and X-Man and or Jay Witt, Jonte Cook, whatever it is, you could, just run the ball with a Savion Red or a Jay Witt. It's a weird package, but I think it gives you a ton of flexibility.
I mean, it's worth the shot. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of flexibility.
And it freaks teams out because they're not going to know what to do because there's so much speed on the field that you'll get somebody to burn a timeout.
Ding,
will,
ding, ding,
you
ding,
will
ding,
get
ding.
someone to burn the timeout
Totally
because they're going to
agree.
be like, hold up.
Hell no. Somebody's matched up on somebody they don't need to be.
Exactly. We're going to change this right now.
We got a middle linebacker on Jay Witt because he was in the backfield most of the time. We
Exactly.
do not like this at all.
No.
Or on Savion Red, still a win.
Exactly.
I think you get funky with your formations. Man, I think you could really throw some teams off, discombobulate them. Like you
No
said,
doubt.
at least force a timeout.
And something like that too. You can also throw in the, well, we can do this hurry up where we don't even allow them a sub because we're rotating them and we know we're going to run this play, and then on the third play we're going to rotate them in here. And when they line up like this, it's a definite timeout or a
big play.
or a big play because they can't sub in the right personnel.
It's almost like, so if they don't call timeout, then that's when you go with the hurry up. Because you can find the
you're
matchup
like,
advantage.
we can go and we have the personnel that can run multiple formations.
I know. Oh, I love that idea. All right, just tossing it around. All right, we come back. We'll get into what's on tap, and we'll wrap this thing up and put it in the oven right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9. Getting ready to wrap it up and put it in the oven. Before we do, we'll let you know what's on tap. And before we do, we'll let you know Texas baseball got the dub.
And they're already done.
Done. This is the new era of baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, they started at 4 o'clock. They were done before we got off the air.
Before we got off the air.
God bless.
Yes.
God bless the new rules of Major League Baseball. And God bless Rob Manfred, Harge.
Players Association, man. Way to put some things on the table. There you go.
What you got on tap tonight?
I'm going to watch some baseball, but I am going to go home tonight, and I'm going to watch the series about Reggie Jackson.
Okay.
There's a series that's out about Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, and I've been meaning to stop what I was doing.
Check it out.
To check it out. And now that basketball's over, Texas already played, I want to go home and watch that.
What platform is it on, do you know?
I think it's on Amazon.
Okay. So I'm like,
I got to
have access
verify
to it.
that, but I'm gonna, and then once I figure it out, I'll text you and let you know
Okay.
what it is.
Yeah. Let me know about that.
Wait, do you mean Astros consultant Reggie Jackson?
I do mean
All right, I
Astros
just want to,
consultant.
with the
That's right.
best team he has worked for.
There it
the
is.
Astros.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Patrick, what you got on tap? brother?
Tons of NBA on tonight, so I'll be watching that, and then I'll be checking to see if the Astros can start to turn that corner. Not
No
playing
doubt.
great to start the season, but we'll get there.
Oh, it's a long season.
It's a long season. I
Hey,
wanna see
they
if
had
they-
the trophy over at Pluckers this year. I mean, just today.
Nice.
Did they?
Today they had the championship trophy over at Pluckers today.
I feel
What
like
you
they-
got on tap,
They
Rod?
feel like they're celebrating still the championship. I'm gonna go home, catch up on my trash TV, man. I didn't watch any trash TV, so I'm watching Naked and Afraid Solo and Naked and Afraid the original tonight.
Oh,
we're
no.
gonna get butt naked, but I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm just gonna be butt naked.
Solo.
Tomorrow, same time and channel. Remember, the revolution not be televised. Talk about it right here on Ball Don't Lie. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other.